Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to go over my retro electronics gadget collection. This is like all sorts of different retro phones and UMPCs and netbooks and computers and stuff. And unfortunately, the reason I'm doing this video is because I want to get rid of most of my collection actually. I've come to the point where I've already showcased pretty much all these devices on my YouTube channel before. And that's really all I want to do with these devices. It's not like anyone's going to come over to my place and kind of see this like mini museum of things all the time. So there's no point in me just having these devices kept in a box and only show them for YouTube videos. I think it's better off going to like another collector. So I'm going to separate some of these devices and figure out which ones I'm going to keep. Probably going to keep around like 25, I would say. I think that's a good number to keep. And then the rest of them, I'm just going to say, hey, they're up for sale. And if any collectors want them, I'm just going to put them on eBay. And if anyone wants to buy them, yeah, you can just go to eBay or let me know. Because, yeah, I'm trying to get rid of a lot of my devices now. I just feel like not only do they take up space, and actually I do kind of need the money right now as well. But, you know, I also think it's kind of a waste for them just to be here in my place. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting around in boxes and on my shelves, and nobody really cares about them anyways. None of my friends really care about this stuff. It's only me. So I think it's better off going to a better collector than me. So or at least a collector that can kind of just display them in a better place. I think they deserve a bit more love than what I'm giving them. They're just kind of, yeah, you see all the shoe boxes? I basically just keep them in my shoe boxes because I don't have any room to display it, nor do any of my friends care about it. So just better off going to someone else, I think. So yeah, I'm going to go over each of these devices again. I'm going to be keeping around 25, I would say. And yeah, and then I'll basically just do a brief overview of which ones I want to keep and which ones I think is good to get rid of. In general, I want to keep the ones that are either very rare and unique, or the ones that have a sentimental value to me, or nostalgic value, so or iconic value, you know. So it's a combination of things. That's what I'm going to do in this video anyways. Just going to go over each one and yeah, figure out which ones I would keep and which ones I would put up for sale. Okay, so let's start off with, I have a separate box for this one because actually I already was listing this one for sale, just no one was really interested in it so far. Okay, so this is the Casio BE300. Now this one does have some sentimental value because it was actually my first pocket PC. I mean, technically I can call it a pocket PC, even though it wasn't running Windows Mobile. It wasn't running Pocket PC OS. It was actually running this custom Windows CE version, I think. Yeah, it was running a custom Windows CE version. But yeah, the Casio BE300 here. I've already kind of wanted to put this one on sale because I got it just for sentimental value because I had this when I was a kid. I think I don't know where I got it from. It might have been a mail order catalog of some sort, but I remember, yeah, when all my other friends had like Game Boy Advance, I had this thing. So nerdy, right? I had a freaking Pocket PC when I was in grade 8, which is when I was like 13 years old. I had this thing. But it was good. I mean, it was like a PDA, right? So it's Pocket PC PDA. It could, yeah, you can basically all these buttons and stuff, like it's like your basic PDA. You can like draw on it, write on it, play games on it, install different applications on it. Even have like GPS and stuff you can install on it. Yeah, so overall pretty good. Had a compact flash slot right here. I remember I did expand the storage. Is this thing stuck now? No. Okay, yeah, I think I expanded the storage an additional 4 megabytes or something like that with compact flash card slot, some proprietary docking connector. That's just what devices used back then. So anyways, yeah, Casio, made in Japan actually. This is back in the era when, yeah, these devices were actually made in Japan. Now you don't really see that much these days, actually made in Japan electronic devices. You know, of course, everything had a headphone jack back then, and then proprietary chargers. I'm glad we moved away from that, right? Can we just, as an electronics collector and like just someone trying to like get these devices to work, can we appreciate the fact that we all moved to USB-C? And yeah, the USB-C, even micro USB before that. Can we just appreciate that? Devices back then all had their own chargers. You had to like all these devices had their own chargers basically. It's hell to keep track of. So anyways, this one is going in my to-sell pile. I guess I'll just put here. It did actually also have a lid as well, so this is what it looks like with the lid on. Cover, I should say, not lid, cover. And yeah, and it had a dock. So, okay, I'm not going to show you guys all the accessories. So basically it came with a little docking cradle, kind of similar to the Palm devices as well. It's called, the Palm was called Hot Sync, I think it was, Hot Sync device, where it syncs. Anyways, the other device here that's actually not in a shoebox of its own, I had it just outside its own. It's probably the biggest device here, size-wise, even though it's not really that big overall. It's the Onkyo DX. Now this one, I'm really torn about this one. Should I keep it or should I sell it? Because it is an extremely rare device. I think it may be the rarest out of all these devices. So the Onkyo DX, very interesting device, came out in 2010. And yes, this is an Onkyo branded laptop. Onkyo, for those of you guys who don't know, they're a Japanese audio company. They make mostly receivers and amplifiers. So the fact that they made a laptop in itself is kind of interesting, because I don't think there's any other Onkyo branded laptop. They mostly make receivers and amplifiers. They don't really make laptops. So it's pretty interesting just to have that. A removable battery right here. That's really cool. You don't see that anymore. And it's a netbook. So you may think, what's so special about this laptop? What's so rare about it other than that it's branded Onkyo? Well, it's this, okay? So you guys take a look at this. It's the only laptop that I know of that does this. So this screen here, it does this. It turns into a dual display, side by side, which is very unique. I've never seen any other laptop maker do something like that, and they should. I think Razer tried to do something like it, but it was a prototype and it got stolen. But yeah, that's the really unique thing about it. And it's extremely rare. I don't know how many of these exist. Probably only a couple hundred, I'm guessing. I don't know, I've never seen that many of them. But yeah, the fact that it does this, I mean, that's really unique, right? And not only just that, but watch this. You can also, it's also convertible, so you can flip it around. You can put it flat down, and now it becomes like a tablet. So it's a convertible tablet, and yeah, not only that, but you can extend the displays like this, and I can swap it around like this. Like that. Really, really cool device, right? So yeah, I'm not sure if I should keep it, because the thing is, this should really go to a good collector. It is extremely, it should go into a museum actually. It's really that rare and valuable. But I'm also not sure if I should keep it as well, because it does take up space, but it's also extremely unique. So I don't know, a bit torn about this one. Really cool, it has both a full-size SD card slot and a micro SD card slot. It's got both. That's really interesting. Of course, you have your volume dial here. It's really cool. What else? Standard VGA port, right? Every little laptops have that back there. What's this thing? You got some kind of like optical connection here. That's really interesting. It's got like a little optical connection right here. I actually don't know what that's for. Is this a stylus? No, it's got an antenna. And this thing has like a little. This thing has a little antenna that comes out. I think you can use this as actually receiving like TV signals or broadcasting signals or something. It has a pop-out antenna, which is really cool. And VGA, and yeah, overall it's a really cool device here. I think when you're in tablet mode, you also have a few other options. I mean, this looks like a normal laptop or a netbook, and then once you flip it over, you have some extra navigation options. So actually you can use this as the optical track point nub is right here, and then contrast, brightness, fingerprint sensors right here as well, really cool. And you got left and right click, and a camera right here. This is right, the front facing camera. Yeah, really, really cool. You guys can see closer. Yeah. Oh, this glare. But yeah, anyways, it's an optical track point nub right here, and you got left and right click. So you would use it like this. Like, it's not a touch screen, I don't think. Is that why? Yeah, it may be why. Because I think it's not a touch screen, so you have a mouse cursor right here, and you got left and right click, so you use this to use the tablet. Very interesting. But anyways, never seen another laptop with this kind of dual displays, much less one made by Onkyo. So really, really cool. I'll keep this one over here. I'm not sure about that one yet. Oh yeah, so this RF antenna, like, it actually extends out like this. I think this is about how much it extends out. But yeah, really, really cool that it has an RF antenna built in. Very, very cool device. Okay. Alright, yeah, I have mixed feelings about whether I should keep it or not, because on one hand, it is extremely cool and unique and rare. But on the other hand, it does take up more space than these other devices. And also, yeah, I wish it could be displayed better. I think it should go to a better collector than me, who can actually show it off more. Alright, so let's go from the shoe boxes here and figure out which ones I should keep. Oh man, okay, this one I pretty much have to keep, I think. This is the Fujitsu UH900. Yeah, this is a very rare netbook, essentially, made by Fujitsu, a Japanese electronics company. Yeah, the only problem with this one is that I have to kind of keep it because it's in such bad condition. Like, unfortunately, the display and materials here from the whatever materials they used on the screen here, it leaks fluid. So it pretty much leaks all over. Yeah, I can't even close it anymore because it'll just be stuck. So this sticky fluid just kind of, I think it degraded over time, basically. So it just, whatever fluid was in this LCD, it just, yeah, it had bubbles in it, and then it just kind of, yeah, over time, just all the sticky fluid came out, and it's all over the keyboard now too, not just the display. It's unfortunate. I don't know if this even works anymore. So it is very rare and interesting because, like, just look how small it is. It came out in 2010. Pretty much one of the most interesting and valuable netbooks of the time. You actually navigate using this little nub right here, and then you have left and right click like this. So I'd be like, yeah, using it like this with my thumbs, and then using thumb typing. Oh, what the heck? See, this is the issue. One of the keys just came off. Instead of the sticky display. Come back on here. Yeah, I can't really even touch the keyboard anymore. It's still sticky. But yeah, you just thumb type like this. Yeah, use it and thumb type. And this was a touch display, I believe. I'm not sure if it was multi-touch, but this was a touch display. You have touch sensors here for adjusting the resolution and stuff. It's just, man, it's unusable now. The keyboard's all sticky. Not sure if the display's even working anymore. It's really unfortunate. Yeah, a full-size SD card slot, a little proprietary docking adapter there, removable battery at the bottom. Overall, really cool. My mini laptop or netbook. Yeah, I have to keep this one because I don't think anyone's going to want it in this condition. So, put the ones I'm keeping over here. What else we got? The King Jim Portabook, also very rare, unique Japanese netbook. This one 2016, a little bit newer. But yeah, this one, I think I'll probably keep this one. Actually, wait, maybe not. I mean, I actually modified this to run Linux. So this was originally running, what, Windows, no, 2016 would have been running Windows 7, right? No, Windows 7 runs too slow on this computer because it's running Intel Atom. So, I mean, at least the Fujitsu and other computers, I'm going to run, like, they're running Windows XP, which is fine. But Windows 7, no, that's too, you can't run Windows 7 on an Atom processor like this. So I think I just put Linux on it, just like Mint, I think. And, yeah. Or Kubuntu. I think I put Kubuntu on it, actually. Yeah, Kubuntu, and it runs faster and better. But yeah, unique thing about this computer, besides being extremely rare and made by a Japanese word processor company, yeah, that's right. This company, King Jim, doesn't make laptops. It makes word processing programs like Microsoft Word. And somehow they came up with this computer. And I saw it in Akihabara when I went to Tokyo back in 2016. And then a few years later in 2019, I actually bought it. But yeah, what's unique about this one is the keyboard. So the keyboard is kind of this split keyboard here. You see this? Split keyboard, and basically if you want to use it, you just snap into place like that, and then it becomes a full-size keyboard. So full-size keyboard and kind of like a compact chassis, which is really cool and interesting. That's the most interesting part of this laptop. Is just the keyboard, which is kind of like this IBM butterfly style keyboard. And then the back here we have different connections, full-size HDMI, VGA, powers with micro USB. I don't know any other laptop that powers with micro USB. That's there. Headphone jack, and this is a full-size SD card slot down here. Yeah, and power buttons right here actually. The power button's right on the bottom of the laptop, interestingly. But yeah, the cool thing about this one, made by a Japanese word processing company, that makes word processing software, and also this keyboard right here, that kind of, yeah, it's one of those butterfly style keyboards. Very interesting. You have a trackpad down here. Once you do that, though, you have to do this in order to use the computer. Otherwise, the trackpad is not visible. You have to do that, and then you have the trackpad here, which is not really not a trackpad. This is a middle click, left and right click right here. You have to use the optical track point nub like on that ThinkPad. But yeah, it kind of compacts up like this. Pretty unique. I'm not sure if I want to keep it because, again, I'm not sure if it's unique enough for me to keep. I mean, I do like that keyboard thing, but I don't have too much sentimental value to the attachment to this computer. It is rare and it is unique, but yeah, at the same time, not sure if I have enough attachment to this laptop to keep it. I might put this in the 2-cell pile. So 2 cell piles here. Oops. Key pile. Okay, I'll put my two cell pile here, which is my B300 and the King Jim. So this thing is called the King Jim Portabook. Okay. What's next? BlackBerry Passport Silver Edition. This is the last device running BlackBerry OS, I believe. It ran BlackBerry OS 10, which wasn't a success. That's why BlackBerry had to switch to Android on the BlackBerry Priv after that. This came out originally 2014, but the Silver Edition, which is just a cosmetic change, came out in 2015. Yeah, it's got the classic BlackBerry logo here. So it's a unique device because first, it's the last device to run BlackBerry OS 10. And also the form factor. It's called the Passport because it's the size of a passport. Yeah, you got their really nice BlackBerry style keys right here. I think I'll keep this one because just being the last BlackBerry OS device, I think is unique. Because BlackBerry switched to Android after that with the Priv and the Key 1 and Key 2, and then after that they just stopped making devices. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this one. I think this one's a keeper. BlackBerry OS 10. BlackBerry is historic. So it's important to keep at least one BlackBerry in my collection because they are historically important, I would say. So I keep one of the BlackBerries. iPad Air. This is from 2013. I bought this in 2013, the LTE edition, the first iPad Air. So other than being an iPad, there's no reason I should really keep this one because I have an iPad Pro 10.5. But the reason why I have to keep this one is because unfortunately, when I bought it, I engraved my name on the back. Stupid, right? At the time I thought, oh, it's cool, I get to engrave stuff. When Apple had the engraving options, when you buy from Apple, you get to engrave anything you want on it. So on the back it says, I don't know if you guys can see that well, stay hungry, stay foolish, and then my name on the back of it. Because I engraved my freaking name on it, I can never sell it. Nobody's going to want a device with my name on it, right? So this one I have to keep just because I have to. And nobody's going to buy something with my name on it, right? Otherwise I would have sold it a long time ago. Okay, ooh, shoot. Okay, this device doesn't work anymore. This was my Xperia. This is my Xperia 4.5. Is it called that? Yeah, Xperia 4.5. I know the Xperia names are kind of weird. This is a relatively recent smartphone, but I have to keep it because it doesn't work because the battery is, well, maybe it does if I replace the battery, yeah. I think it's the battery that bulged out. Okay, actually maybe this could be fixable, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, so this has a battery bulge on it. So unfortunately water damage got into this phone, so it stopped working, but I think it actually might be the battery damage. So I wonder if I replace the battery, will it still work after that? Could be something I could try. Yeah, because this did have water damage on it. That's why I had to replace it with my new Xperia, the 5.5. But now I see that, yeah, the battery is completely bulging out of it, and maybe I can just replace the battery, and maybe it might still work. I think the circuits, yeah, the circuits could be fried too. I'm actually not sure. If the circuits are fried, then there's nothing much we can do about it. But I can see that clearly the battery is bulging out of it. So I'll keep this one from now, obviously. Like, nobody's going to want it in this condition. But I'm going to try to see if I can fix that with the battery. Okay. Okay, so this is another interesting one. Looks like a normal smartphone, but it's made by Amazon. So this is the Amazon Fire Phone from 2014. Really cool features for this one because this has 4 cameras here. Actually 5. One is the selfie camera. But 4 cameras just for this parallax scrolling feature where you can like tilt the device and it'll automatically scroll. Very cool, and it runs Fire OS, the same OS as Amazon Kindle Fires. Wasn't very successful. People didn't really buy it or anything. But I think I'll keep this one because it's historically interesting, I would say, that Amazon made a phone at one point, and it was a failure. And it was actually kind of unique in a way as well. Fire OS and then the parallax scrolling feature is pretty interesting. So yes, this is an Amazon phone. I'm going to keep it because it is kind of historically unique and interesting. It's kind of like a failure. Sometimes you want to keep the failures because they are like kind of interesting in their own way. Okay, second, no, actually, let's just go here. Oh man, a lot of phones here. Okay, this is a very interesting phone, the Nokia E90. I think this is from 2007. Yeah, this is the last phone that Nokia made with the communicator name. So the communicator line goes back to the 90s, I think. Very historic. And this is their last communicator device. Yeah, it came out in 2007 when Nokia was peak Nokia. 2007 was peak Nokia, man. And yeah, it looks like a standard Nokia from the front, right? And back, a decent camera as well. Nokia's always put decent cameras in their flagship phones back then. But the thing about it being a communicator, right, is it isn't just a normal phone. It actually lifts up, and yeah, there you have it, right? You have like this little mini palm top type display right here. So it lifts up and it becomes like that. So that's what the communicators were like, and really, really cool design, right? So yeah, it's just like that. So yeah, you can use it as like kind of like a computer runs Symbian, right? That's Nokia's operating system, and so it's kind of like a smartphone. Actually, PDA is what is better name. It's kind of a PDA, but it is a smartphone because it's also a phone. And then yeah, so kind of prototype smartphone here. Phone features, and then you have PDA inside. So yeah, the full QWERTY keyboard, right, as well. I'm going to keep this one. It's historically important. It was the top of the line E series, the last communicator device. Is historically significant. I'm keeping it. Okay, this one is the Palm phone. It's the last phone that Palm made. Actually, I should say it wasn't really made by Palm. It's the last phone branded Palm, and it's just a very small phone. I think I compared it with the Unihertz Jelly phone, which is kind of similar. I did kind of similar features. Yeah, it's extremely tiny. Look how small this is, right? Really, really small, tiny phone. It's pretty thin, pretty small. So I think the only interesting things about this one, why I have it, is because first of all, it is the last phone branded with the Palm name. Palm, right, goes back to the 90s, the Palm Pilot. This is the very last phone branded with Palm, and Palm is owned by HP, so they don't use it anymore, I don't think. Or actually, are they? I'm actually not sure who owns it now, but anyways, this is the last phone branded Palm, and extremely tiny and small. So you can see, like, compared with something like a modern phone like the Xperia, right? You can see how much smaller the Palm. Actually, even the Xperia isn't like too big compared to modern phones, but like you can see how much smaller. Anyways, very small phone. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it though. I think this one I'm going to try to sell it. I don't think it's important enough for me to keep it. Okay, it's just kind of like an interesting thing to have, but it's not really interesting enough. Okay, next one is Nokia E7. This is a slide out keyboard phone that Nokia made in 2011, I think. This is really when Nokia was already on the downfall. Like, they peaked in 2007 with the N95 and the E90, and right, that was Nokia's peak, was the mid 2000s. And then after the iPhone came out, of course, Nokia started going down. So this was already when Nokia was on the downhill, about to be bought by Microsoft. One of the last Symbian devices, it ran Symbian 3, Symbian Caret 3, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was one of the last Symbian devices. And yeah, so it's a slider. So basically, it's got this tilt up keyboard. Let's see if I can get it going here. Yep, here we go. So yeah, basically, right, regular smartphone, touchscreen, of course. It's a 2011 phone, so it's a smartphone already, multi-touch, and then you can have the keyboard right here. It's kind of a tilt up keyboard. It's not a slide up, it's a tilt up. So it tilts up, and then you can type on it and stuff like that. So yeah, unique things about this one, other than being a tilt-up keyboard, which a few phones at the time had, not, I think still a lot of phones like Motorola Droid, right, used the slide-up technique. The tilt-up technique wasn't as common, so this design is kind of interesting. Not unique to this phone, but it is still kind of interesting for the time. And ran Symbian 3, which I think is interesting. Not many phones ran Symbian 3, so... I'm not sure about this one, should I keep it or not? I think it's definitely not as historically important as the communicator is. I think this one's definitely more important historically. Being Symbian 3 isn't quite, I mean, it's not the last of its line or anything. It is part of the E series, but yeah. 8 megapixel camera, that's decent. And it has a shutter button as well. Okay, that's cool. Sony phones are the only ones that have that nowadays. But yeah, just having the flip up keyboard. I wonder if that's, not sure if that's important for me enough to keep. I think I'll put this in the maybe column. This goes in the maybe column. So this one is to keep, to sell, and maybes. Actually, this one, yeah, this one's to keep. I should put this one over here as well. To keep, to sell, and maybe. Okay. HP Pre 3. So basically HP took over the Palm brand, and it used to be called the Palm Pre. That was Palm's line of smartphones, and this came out in 2011. Oh, this is historically significant because it is the last phone to run WebOS. So WebOS was this operating system that's really kind of a pioneering operating system for smartphones. This came out in 2011. A lot of Android features came from WebOS, actually. So WebOS is now owned by LG, I think, so LG uses it on their TVs, but it used to be Palm, actually, I think, was the owner of it before, and then HP had it, and then HP killed it off in 2011. So this was the last phone running WebOS. And also the touchpad as well. If you remember, HP had the touchpad running WebOS. So yeah, it is kind of significant because it is the last device running WebOS, which is a significant smartphone operating system in my opinion, and has a slide up. It's a vertical slider, so it has a slide up keyboard right here. I think I'm going to keep this one. I think WebOS is historically significant as a smartphone operating system, and this keyboard's not great. It's not a BlackBerry or anything, but yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I'm keeping it because it is WebOS is kind of significant in my opinion. Okay, Samsung Alias 2. 2009, I think. This one, I think the reason why I have it, so first of all, Samsung, right, they made so many phones back then. It's one of your Samsung flip phones, which a lot of people had back then. I grew up right in this era. I'm a millennial. I grew up, I went, like basically the time I grew up and really matured was 2000s. So in the 2000s was the flip phone era. Everyone had a flip phone in the 2000s. So, yeah, this one, what's interesting is the e-ink keyboard. So this keyboard is actually e-ink. So that means it changes depending on what app you're using. So it's pretty interesting. If you want to compare it to something like the Apple's Touch Bar, came out way before that. It's kind of dependent on which app you're using and kind of just changes with e-ink. So I think it's a cool technology. It's cool that Samsung did this. They have, this was definitely one of their more interesting flip phones for sure, having the e-ink keyboard. The other thing you can do here is, okay, so this looks like a normal flip phone, right? So the other thing you can do is if you want to use this keyboard, you can actually use it in landscape mode. So right now if you use it in vertical mode, it's like a numpad. But if you use it in landscape mode, you can open the display this way, and then you can use it in landscape mode, and you can use this as a QWERTY keyboard to type on. So that's pretty cool. But is it interesting or cool enough for me to keep? Not sure. Like, all these devices are going to be cool in some way because I have it in my collection for a reason. But is it cool enough for me to keep? If I wanted just to keep 25, I don't think so. It's just unfortunately not unique enough or historically important enough. It's just one of many, many Samsung phones, right? They made so many. Okay, next one. Also really cool design. This is a Motorola Flipout from 2010, I think. So it's very early Android 2.1, 2.3 or something like that. Very small device. It's like this small square device right here. And what's cool about it is that you can flip it out. So watch this. So it's a square device, right? You flip out the keyboard like that. And then it becomes, okay, let's do it like this. Flip it out. Yeah. That's QWERTY keyboard. That's right. So you have a tiny QWERTY keyboard, and then you have the small square form factor. Really, really cool, right? Flip it like this. It's called the flip out for this reason. Flip out, okay. Should I keep this though? It is really cool and unique in terms of design. Never seen any other phone like this. At the same time, is it historically interesting? No. It's just another one of Motorola's devices. They made a lot. And this came at a time when Motorola was declining anyways. Ran an early version of Android, which isn't really that interesting. It's got like even a little navigation thing right here. It's like a little D-pad type thing right here. It's interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite as interesting enough. The only reason I have it is because of the form factor and design, right? This little flip design is cool. But historically unique or interesting? No, not really. So I'm gonna put this in the to sell, unfortunately. Alright, so let's keep going here. Okay, this is the Creative Zen Vision M. It is an MP3 player from 2006. I had this for sentimental reasons because this was my main music player during university when I attended University of Toronto. And yeah, I use this pretty much every day because I've always loved music, right, as an audiophile. I've always loved music. Everyone else had an iPod. I was not into iPods. I just got the Creative Zen because I found that for many things it was actually better than an iPod, because the thing about the iPod is that you had to use iTunes, and I really hated iTunes. And I wanted to be able just to use my a lot of different formats and stuff, right? The video formats, the audio formats, the Creative just supported more of those. The iPod, you had to convert everything to Apple's formats that they like. So yeah, 30 gigabytes. I mean, it had one of these 2.5-inch hard drives, I think, that you put in there. That's what the iPod had as well. Yeah, it had this nice little ripple design on the back. And it had its own proprietary connector, because that's what devices were like back then. Overall, it has this touch screen here as well. I mean, touch strip. Yeah, it's a touch strip, because the iPod had a little click wheel, right? The iPod iconic click wheel. So Creative had their own implementation. The touch strip wasn't quite as interesting as the click wheel, but it worked fine. So you just basically navigate like this, and then you have left and right click right on the side, and you have your basic back and menu buttons, play, pause right here. So yeah, this 2.5-inch screen was decent, 262,000 colors, TFT I think. For the time, it was pretty good. They also made a lot of other devices, because Creative is, you know, back then they made so many MP3 players, and PMPs, which are portable music players. They made so many of those. This was just, I think, probably one of the more popular ones, because it really directly competed with iPod Classic. So, should I keep it? I basically have it only for sentimental reasons. There's no other reason why this should be significant, because it's just one of many, many Creative devices. But you know what? I think there's an Arcos, I think, in here as well. There's an Arcos somewhere here, and I think for video, I'd rather go with the Arcos. And then for music, like, this can store like decent amount of songs, 30 gigabytes, made in Malaysia, because, well, Creative's a Singapore company. I mean, yeah, it is somewhat sentimental in a way. I don't know, I think this one's a maybe, actually. Yeah, it's like, I only have it for sentimental reasons. Yes, it is a major iPod competitor, but like nothing really competed with iPod actually as well. You can say Creative was the biggest iPod competitor back then, iRiver as well, but the thing is iPod was just so dominant, so I can't really say it was really significant of a competitor, but it was probably one of the best iPod alternatives. Anyways, I'll put this in the maybe column. I'm not sure about that. Okay, then you have the iPod. So iPod Nano 5th generation. Now this is not the iconic iPod. iPod Mini is the more iconic iPod, I think. iPod Nano, not quite as iconic. But the reason why I have this is because it's one of the last iPods with a click wheel. So it is the last Nano with a click wheel. But yeah, it's just one of the last newer generation. I'm not counting iPod Classic and iPod Mini because like those came out before. But yeah, this was probably the last iPod Nano with a click wheel, and it's probably the smallest iPod with a click wheel as well. I still want to have the click wheel because the click wheel is iconic. Jonathan Ive designed this. It's an iconic piece of history in terms of technology, just brilliantly designed. Never had this back in the day because, like I said, I was a creative guy. I was not an iPod guy. But I have to admit how cool the technology was, the click wheel technology. Very, very cool technology. Feels so good to use it even today. Yeah, the smallest iPod with a click wheel and the last Nano with a click wheel. Also has a video recorder on the back. Yeah, it has a video recorder because this was back in the days when people like the smartphones didn't have good cameras, so like there were dedicated video recording devices like the Flip Video, and I think this was trying to add that as well with the video recorder. But historically significant in a way. I don't have any other iPod here, so just to have an iPod in my collection, I think I have to keep this one. iPod is iconic. I mean, you have to admit this is the reason Apple came back. All right, without the iPod, there wouldn't be iPhone. And without iPhone, we wouldn't have modern smartphones. So, okay, this is a very cool device, the Neptune Pine. So this is actually a phone. Yeah, let's compare it to the Motorola Flipout because I do think that these two are both very, very tiny, right? The difference is that the Neptune Pine is more rare. This was actually a device. I don't think that Neptune made any other devices. They were kind of like a little Kickstarter, small startup company. This was made originally as a watch, so you'd actually put it on your wrist, and then you have a strap that goes along with it. I don't have the strap anymore, but it is kind of unique. Definitely more rare than the Flipout, but it doesn't have the Flipout keyboard, right? Flipout does have the keyboard, which is really cool. Neptune doesn't have that, but it is running a newer version of Android. This is like Android 2.3. This is like Android 4.1. Ice cream sandwich, I think. So it's running a newer version of Android. Otherwise, I think that's the only reason why I have it. It does have a camera on the back. The reason why I have it is just it's a really rare device. Neptune didn't really make too many of these. They're a small startup company, and also it's just I think they build it as the tiniest Android smartphone, which I think it was. You compare the size, right? Flipout, and then the Neptune is even smaller than the Flipout, which is the Flipout is already tiny to begin with, and this is like even smaller. So it's definitely unique and rare. Historically not significant because like people don't even know about this device, but yeah, definitely unique. Oh, they both have headphone jacks. Look at that. You can put headphone jacks on anything back then. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one as well. It does run a newer version of Android. It doesn't have the Flipout keyboard though. Yeah, anyways, I have to see about this. I'll put this in the maybe category. Yeah, because the Flipout actually did not put in the... Yeah, although the Flipout is kind of unique as well. Maybe I should put the Flipout in the maybe category as well, just because it's so... It is pretty interesting. It's very small too. I'll put this in the maybe category too. Yeah, I just want to make a correction. The Neptune Pine actually runs Android 4.4, not 4.1, and yeah, it's just kind of surprising that they managed to pack basically a fully featured Android device in a form factor this small. This is probably the smallest Android phone, one of the smallest Android phones ever. I think I own the Jelly phone, you know, and the Palm Mini phone as well, but this is still smaller than both of those. I think this is smaller than the Jelly. and the Palm phone. But yeah, power button right here, volume controls right here, camera at the back. Like I said, I think this is just a very pretty basic camera. Not sure about the megapixels. There's this is the connector for the watch strap that you put on to your hand. I don't have the watch strap anymore because I never used it as a watch. It's just kind of ridiculous to have something this big on your on your wrist. I just kind of just have this as a neat little small tablet device, I guess. Yeah, the Android controls here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Even has a headphone jack, and this is a SIM card slot. So yeah, I mean, if anything, you can actually even use this as like a little MP3 player as well, since it does have the headphone jack. So anyways, just pretty cool to have a small little device like this, and very rare because Neptune never made any other devices. They were just a small startup company on Kickstarter. They made this thing, and then that was pretty much it. that was it, and then just disappeared. The company just disappeared after that. So it's pretty rare because of that. Okay, this is kind of historically significant, although design-wise not too interesting, but historically significant. It's the T-Mobile G1 or the HTC Dream. It's the very first Android smartphone. It ran Android 1.6, I think, 1.5, 1.6. But yeah, by Google on the back. It's the very first Android phone. So that makes it historically significant. Has even this little like roller nub, a little roller trackball. Yeah, it's got a roller trackball in the center here. Like back when smartphones had this kind of thing, that was very experimental. And then calling and phone button, decline, menu button. Yeah, it's kind of interesting by today's standards to see a smartphone like this, right? With all these, still a lot of physical buttons and a roller trackball. I don't think I've seen this in many other Android smartphones, but you have a roller trackball here. Yeah, and then it has a flip out keyboard here. It goes like this. Yeah, it goes like this. It actually like swings up like this. Oh. There. Swings up, and then you have the full QWERTY keyboard. So yeah, it goes like that. Okay, so yeah, this is the T-Mobile G1. Historically significant in a way, although not as iconic as iPhone, obviously. But the iPhone 1 is obviously a very collectible device, but I don't have that. Yeah, this is the first Android phone. So historically significant, yes. Not as collectible because like they sold a decent amount of these, and it's not unique other than being the first Android phone. So yeah, I'll put this in the maybe column. Like, being the first Android phone is cool. That's the main reason for this device in my collection. But I guess having the roller trackball and then this is not just a slide up keyboard. It's like kind of a swing out and then sliding up like that. It's like, it goes like this, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's not like a direct vertical slide out, it goes like this. So that's kind of an interesting feature of this slide out. I don't know, another maybe. It's not like, yeah, again, yeah, I'll just put in the maybe still. Not sure about that one. Okay, Palm Trio 650, I think. This is a Palm smartphone. So Palm made the Palm Pilots very popular, you know, really the most popular PDA. And then after you know, more and more phones came out with combining PDA functionality. I mean, this is like one of those phones that Steve Jobs put up in this presentation when introducing the iPhone. You know, you cut off the bottom part, and he says the bottom part is the problem here, right? Yeah, so the smartphones of the mid-2000s were like this. They had like the Samsung, Blackjack, Motorola Q1. They all had like these little BlackBerry, right? All the BlackBerry style buttons, really to kind of copy BlackBerry. They have all the QWERTY keyboards here, and then yeah, the little physical keyboards, and then they have navigation here. They were, yeah, not intuitive to use. That's why these were mostly marketed towards business people, essentially, because they're not intuitive to use. They have smartphone operating systems like Palm OS or Symbian or Pocket PC, right? Mobile, Windows Mobile. But for the most part, not easy to use. That's what the iPhone kind of fixed by making it very intuitive to use. Proprietary charging, hot sync cradle without and everything. This is, I think, SD, full-size SD, and has even this little antenna thing. That's very relic, having this antenna. No, I have this because it's a Palm smartphone, which I thought was cool enough. The Palm Trio, right? The Trio series. I remember this series being advertised when I was a kid. Not historically significant, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna. This is definitely in this 2-cell column. It's not significant enough for me to keep. Okay, this one could be interesting. This is Samsung Z1, I think. So yeah, Samsung Z1. Now it looks just like a regular phone from the early 2010s. I think it's from 2010. Wait, was it? 2010 to 2014? Maybe it's 2014. But anyways, it looks like a typical smartphone from the early 2010s, right? Typical. You remember screens were smaller back then. So it just looks like a typical Galaxy Nexus, type smartphone. But the interesting thing about this one is it ran Tizen OS. So Tizen is a smartphone operating system that Samsung tried to move to, but kind of failed. So they kept sticking with Android. So it's kind of like a failed experiment that Samsung had. They were trying to move some of their operating systems to using Tizen, but then it kind of failed because Android was just too powerful. Everyone was using Android. So that's the thing with Android. It's like all the other smartphone makers, Windows Phone, Tizen is another one, BlackBerry OS, none of them can compete with Android. So eventually Samsung was like, yeah, just screw it, we're going to stick with Android because nobody's going to want to use another operating system. It's just Android is too powerful, had too much support. But kind of like one of those failed experiments that Samsung tried with Tizen OS. It's interesting. I might keep it actually, just for the Tizen. Like it's like historically interesting, I guess, just to have a different operating system for smartphones. Although not as historically significant as the as WebOS. Okay, Sony Ericsson P990 from 2006, I think, or 2005. Yeah, the P990. So Sony Ericsson, right? This is back when Sony and Ericsson were combined into one company making cell phones. Memory stick duo, that's Sony format. Just like in all the Sony phones, you have a camera shutter button and yeah, lens cap here. Sony Ericsson, yeah. The thing is, I'm not sure if any of Sony Ericsson's devices are historically significant. I don't think any of them really are. They're a solid smartphone company. I mean, Sony Ericsson made a lot of cool devices that I liked, but none of them are really historically significant in a way that a Motorola, Razr, or a Nokia N95 would be. So I'm not sure if any of them really significant enough. The only reason I have this one is because it's design-wise, it's got a little nifty trick here. So you got the numpad here, right? Your numpad here for calling, and then you flip it out, and then you got a QWERTY keyboard. So that's the unique thing about this one, is you got QWERTY keyboard and bam, numpad when you need it. So yeah, pretty cool party trick, I guess. But these are tiny, look at them. Tiny little QWERTY keyboard keys. These might be the smallest QWERTY keyboard keys I've seen on a phone. Yeah, I don't know. It's got a little volume dial here, which is cool too, but I don't think this is significant enough for me to keep. I don't think any Sony Ericsson devices are historically significant enough for me to keep. It is kind of cool to have this little feature here. Like, yeah, you even have the buttons here, and hey, yeah, we can dial someone on the numpad, and then bam, QWERTY keyboard when you need it. Again, this is why having the touchscreen smartphone is going to overtake all these features later on, but it's cool to have that design. But no, not historically significant enough. I'm going to keep it. This one's in the 2-key pile. Yeah, the 2-cell pile. It goes. Another real Nokia phone, but again, this one's not quite as historically significant or anything. It's called the E70. I think this was 2005 or 2006. Looks just like any other Nokia phone, right? The numpad and yeah, menu buttons, iconic, right? It's got a little nub cursor in the middle here. So this looks like any other Nokia phone, but then watch this. Bam! Yeah, that's when you got the QWERTY keyboard here, and the QWERTY keyboard is, yeah, inside like this, and then you can use it like this, type messages and stuff like that. Pretty cool design. Again, there's a lot of cool designs from the 2000s. Watch Mr. Mobile's videos on when phones were fun, right? All the 2000s phones were really fun. They especially Nokia. They made so many interesting designs. So, anyways, not historically significant. It's another one of Nokia's E series phones, but the design's cool, right? Just having standard and call someone, and then when I want to type a text message or something, then I just flip it out and then I type a text message like this. Yeah, so anyways, that thing is cool, but other than that, it's just this little design here. I don't know if I should just keep it just for the design. That's the reason why I have it, but other than that, not very interesting, significant wise. It's unique just for this design, right? I've never seen any other phone have that design. Just kind of have it flipping out like that. But okay, I'm just going to put it into cell column. It's like the P990, right? It's got like cool design, but should I keep it just for that? Not sure. And here's another case of that, right? Nokia 3250 from 2005. So this is another one where it's like, okay, this is cool just for the design. So this is looks like a standard Nokia phone again, right? Numpad, and looks a little bit squarish as a candy bar phone. Looks like a candy bar phone, right? But then you have the little party trick. So if you want to use it as a camera, bam, it twists. And then you can use it as a camera, and you can use it as a camcorder to shoot stuff. And hey, if I want to play music, bam, there. I have my music player functionality right here. So now you have your media player controls and everything. So anyways, pretty cool. Just for this little twisting form factor that Nokia also used on their Express Music 5700 as well. I used to have that one too. But yeah, that's the only reason why I have it. Not historically significant, just for the cool design, right? So the E70 had this design right here, where you can just kind of flip it into the QWERTY form factor and then back into the regular phone. Okay, 3250, you have the regular phone. Want to take videos and pictures, just, yeah, twist it. And then you want to play some music, you twist it. And you can, now it becomes media player controls, right? Again, this was all fixed for smartphones, touchscreen smartphones. But it's cool to have all these cool designs, right? Before touchscreen smartphones, you had all these cool designs because because you have the limitations, and limitations is what breeds innovations, my friend. So anyways, cool. You have a little, the nub here as well. Again, not sure if I should keep this. This is really, I had it in my collection just for that little twisting form factor, which is cool to see, but cool enough for me to keep. I'm not sure. I'm putting it in my cell phone. Okay, another Sony Ericsson. This is the W995. Part of the Walkman series. Of course, this dates back to the Sony Walkman, right, back in the late 70s. So, again, Sony Ericsson devices, I don't think any of them are really historically significant in any way. It's cool to have, it's just a nice phone of the time, 2009 I think, and it had this media player controls, play, pause, and you have navigation here, you have the phone buttons here. And then of course you have a slide out, so you slide it out and you get the numpad. That was just the case for a lot of phones back then. My main phone back in university was like that, was a Samsung slider, so you slide it out and you get the numpad. It's a pretty common form factor back then. Yeah, this one's the dedicated camera shutter button. It also has dedicated media controls for play, pause, so this is kind of useful if you really enjoy your music, right? This was a combination MP3 player phone, which was nice at the time. Had a pretty decent camera, 8 megapixels, was quite good for 2009. That was a pretty solid camera. And it had a little kickstand as well. So this little kickstand thing, basically if you want to set your phone up, I think to take a picture, yeah, you can set it up like this. I kind of have like a kickstand thing. But anyways, not really significant for me. I think I had it because it was the last Walkman phone that Sony made. They had a line of Walkman phones and CyberShot phones. I think because this is a CyberShot logo. So this was the last phone that was kind of had both Walkman features and CyberShot features. So I had that. But other than that, not really that interesting, I guess. Yeah, just Sony Ericsson. I always wanted to get a Walkman or a CyberShot phone, but didn't have money back then. Yeah. Other than just being the last Walkman phone, I don't think there's any other reason why I should have this one. It's just a pretty solid phone for the time, but nothing really special about it. So it goes into cell. Okay, this is another one where it's kind of unique just for the operating system. So this is ZTE OpenC, came out I think 2014, just like the Samsung Z1. This is special because it runs Firefox OS. Yeah, that's right. Firefox, Mozilla actually made an operating system that ran on smartphones. And that's really the unique one about this one is the phone itself is nothing special. Just looks like a typical early 2010s phone, right? Smartphone. So it's roughly the size of a Galaxy Nexus and stuff. It's noticeable because it's orange and also because it runs Firefox OS. So I think maybe worth keeping just for the operating system. I think that makes it unique. So maybe worth keeping just for that. Just like with Tizen, I'll keep it just for the operating system. It's a bit of a failed operating system. Like Firefox OS, I don't know how many devices ran Firefox OS. Obviously wasn't a success. Couldn't compete with Android, but it's historically interesting. Okay, this is the Toshiba G910. It's interesting because it's kind of like a combination. It's a smartphone, but also like it's got PDA vibes to it, I guess. I think this came out what, 2000, well, mid 2000s, I think. Yeah, mid 2000s. Anyways, on the front here, you have your little phone controls, navigation buttons, and call, hang up, and you have this little smaller display right here. And the back, it's actually pretty premium looking with the leather. So it actually does look like a PDA from this point of view, right? But then you can open it up like a communicator. And then you have the full QWERTY keyboard here. Yeah, it's the Toshiba Portage. So it's actually, they called it Portage, even though Portage was a name used for their laptops. So it's got like a mini laptop form factor here, but it actually looks like a Nokia communicator type device. So yeah, you have your QWERTY keyboard and you can call people using the numpad here as well. So it's kind of an interesting phone in that sense, right? It's like a palm top device. It's one of the more interesting devices. Like it's got, really, it's a communicator type device. It's like the Nokia E90. And not quite as iconic as the E90 though. But it looks pretty premium actually with this little leather looking surface. But yeah, should I keep it? I'm not sure. Again, it's not historically significant. It's unique-ish, but not really unique either because it's like the same design as the Nokia communicator. So it's kind of like that. It's got a fingerprint sensor actually, which is really cool. How many phones had fingerprint sensors back then? This is the mid 2000s. Yeah. UMTS, which is kind of 3G, I think. Yeah, 3G capabilities. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, this design is pretty cool, but it's something that Nokia communicator has as well. Just, yeah, it looks a little bit different than the communicator. It looks a little bit more like a premium PDA from the outside, and then you open it up and it's like a communicator. Oh, QWERTY keyboard, and you've got PDA functionality here. So, anyways, I don't think it's interesting enough. Not historically significant, and the design is pretty much like a Nokia communicator, and I already have the E90, so. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, this one is what I was kind of waiting for. The Arcos 7. Okay, let's look at this big slab of a thing. Okay, so this is a tablet, but it plays video mostly. It plays music and video. It actually runs Linux. It's actually a pretty hefty device. It's Arcos 7, 7-inch display. It's from 2008. I remember Arcos devices. I've always saw them in Best Buy and Future Shop, and when I would go in there, I would kind of like play with them, watch the videos and stuff, and I always would be amazed at the video quality and the codec support of Arcos devices. It was pretty much just as good as Creative's PMPs, except Arcos is probably more focused on video. Creative stuff is more focused on maybe on the music side, but I feel like Arcos stuff is better for video. And when the Arcos 7 came out, I actually had an Arcos 5 when I was in university. So this is like the bigger version that I got a few years later. Yeah, it's actually great for watching videos and movies, and it still is actually. And it's got removable battery, so that's good. Actually looks and feels really premium. Even today, like, you don't see devices that feel like this. It's like the solid aluminum or metal, stainless steel type of vibe to it. Really cool. But yeah, removable battery here. which technically means you can keep on going forever. And it's got this proprietary docking connector, and this is another cool thing about Arcos. I don't know what happened to this company. It's a French company. They basically disappeared after smartphones came out. But back in the 2000s, I thought they were so cool for having this little docking connector that you connect it to this docking station where it's like a DVR. You can actually connect it to your TV and record streams from your TV. So you can actually, and I had the docking station, I used it before, and I used it to record footage from my PS3 actually. So I put it in the docking station and then hook it up to the TV and do something with the TV. You can record stuff. It's anything from the TV you can record directly onto this device. So any TV shows, any movies you're watching, video games you're playing, you can record directly onto this thing. Really, really cool. That's a feature I don't know any other device at the time had. So that's a really distinguishing feature of Arcos, is that you can connect this docking connector and then hook it up to your TV and record anything from your TV. That's really cool. I think anything that's like not protected, of course there's some stuff that's protected that you can't, but most of the time it actually worked. And this thing just looks really premium, looks and feels really premium. Yeah, it looks almost like stainless steel. Really, really cool. And it runs Linux. Actually can play Flash videos as well. You can put Swift files on there, play Flash videos, any kind of movie basically, AVIs and WMVs, like a lot of good support, codec support at the time. Remember it could play like XViz and DivX, which Creative can play that as well, but yeah, I think Arcos had even better support than Creative. So for playing videos, this thing can play almost anything. And on top of that, had like some games on it. You can play Flash games on it, right? Obviously music as well, photos. So really, really cool device. I think I will be keeping this just because the DVR functionality in itself makes it unique. I know it's not historically significant, but to me, this is actually something I can still use today. And this is another thing. Okay, so 320 gigabyte hard drive, like back in 2008. Even today, right? You have your phones for 512 gigabytes is a lot, but 320 gigabytes back in the day, you can put so many movies and stuff on it. You can still use this today to watch movies on a plane. So I'm keeping this one. Alright, so I actually found the DVR dock for my Arcos 7. So this is what it looks like. It's called the DVR station. It was sold separately, I think for like an extra $200 or $300 or something. It was pretty expensive add-on because of the abilities of it. So yeah, you have one mini USB, one mini USB connector right here, and then there's another latch here. This latch opens up a full-size USB-A port right there. Yeah, and then you have the mini. This is the proprietary Arcos docking connector. I mean, all the electronics back then had their own connectors, so that's the special Arcos one that connects. And I forgot the fact that this is the latch for the removable battery as well. So it's also cool that devices back then all had removable batteries, but they also had the proprietary docking connectors. So there's pros and cons of old school devices. Yeah, this is the back of the dock, and you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So you have audio right and left, and you have video. This is for composite input, right? You would use these three for composite input, and then these are for component input. So you have to remember back in the day before HDMI, there was a bunch of other video cables that you used. There's also S-Video as well. So you had all these other standards, VGA, DVI, S-Video, component, composite. This one actually does have HDMI as well. So that's cool. I think it's only for video out though. So you put this in the cradle, so let's do that. Put this in the cradle like this. This is what it looked like. And then on the back here, I think HDMI is only for video out, but you have video input here. That's what you can use to record from a source. So if you have anything with composite output, which is like a video camera, the video game systems back then, or even component output, which some systems had. Like I remember my Xbox 360 and PS3 both had that. Because component was kind of the HD standard back then. You can output HD 720 using component out. So that's what I usually used back then. I used component out. That was the high definition standard back then, before everyone switched to HDMI. And you have composite input for your older devices, and S-Video as well for some of the older laptops back then. I remember what my first laptop had S-Video out, I believe. But some other laptops might have VGA and DVI. In those cases, I think you would have to use a converter to convert it. But anyways, look, it's cool that this thing has Yeah, video in and video out. Yeah, that's just really cool. You can record from any of those sources. Any of your sources that has a composite out, component out, S video out, you can record. So that's really cool. Okay, so next we have the Motorola or T-Mobile Sidekick Slide, which is part of the Sidekick series. The Sidekick series were probably the most popular messenger phones back in the mid-2000s. They were pretty iconic. However, this one isn't quite as iconic as the Sidekick 3, which I also have, but just a different different design. Right? It's got a roller nub, kind of like my T-Mobile G1, and another navigation here. The back's really sticky. I think this little material, it degrades over time, gets really sticky over time. That's not good. Headphone jack, micro USB. Yeah. So the special thing about this one is that the T-Mobile Sidekicks usually have this swivel display, but this one just has a slide display. So this one just slides up, and then you have the QWERTY keyboard here, which isn't that great. It's got a little bubble type design here. Doesn't feel great to type on. So not really the best T-Mobile Sidekick device. I think I had this because of the unique slider type interface here that other T-Mobile Sidekicks didn't have, but it's not as good, honestly. So I think this one definitely goes in the 2-cell column. Not that interesting. All right, Palm TX. This is one of the last Palm devices before they were taking over, actually before they were making smartphones. Yeah. Yeah, basically one of the last Palm Pilots. Like after, this is like 2005. After 2005, I think they just switched to making Trios, which is like the smartphones. So really one of the last Palm Pilots, historically interesting in that aspect, but I don't know. The thing is, yes, Palm Pilots are historically significant and interesting in terms of being a very popular PDA, and this was really the last, one of the last Palm Pilots released. The Palm TX, one of the most powerful too. We're on Palm OS 5.4, I think. But I don't know. I think that the thing is, I have other devices running Palm OS that I find more interesting in terms of design. So maybe not as historically significant as like this design. This is the design that everyone thinks about when they think about Palm, right? The Palm Pilot type design. But it's not interesting to me. So it's just kind of boring and basic. Like, okay, Palm Pilot design. I want to have something with like a swivel display or something like that would be cooler. But anyways, yeah, it is one of the last Palm Pilots and one of the most powerful, the Palm TX. But yeah, I don't think it's. I have other devices that run Palm OS, so I'm not lacking on that. And this is not as interesting design as some of them, even though this one is maybe a little bit more historically significant. So, not sure. I'll put this one in the maybe column. So you have your standard Palm style buttons here. So you have home, calendar appointments, contacts, and browser. Yes, this can actually browse the web. It's got a WAP browser, I believe is what they're called, and navigational buttons right here, and the confirm button right here, power button on top, headphone jack. Yes, it did have a headphone jack, right? SD card slot full size, and a stylus. So yeah, of course this is a resistive touchscreen, right? So normally you use a Palm Pilot and then you use a stylus with it. That's how you used most PDAs back then. And then proprietary charging port, that's just how it was back then. You gotta hook it up to a dock. It's called a hot sink cradle. And yeah, pretty much this would be your typical looking Palm Pilot. It's just one of the last and most powerful ones, the Palm TX. Okay, now this one, okay. It's iconic in some ways, but not quite as iconic as the original. This is the Motorola Razr 2. So the original Motorola Razr is of course more iconic, the V3. This one's not quite as iconic, but it's better. It's the better phone, I think. It's just got better specs. It came out 3 years after. The original Motorola Razr V3 I think came out in 2004. This came out in 2007. So it came out like 3 years later. It's got better specs, and it's still got the Motorola design language, it's just a little bit slimmer. This is the Luxury Edition, so they made several editions. The Luxury Edition has this leather back, snakeskin leather back, which is really cool. And it's in gold, right? It's got gold accents, so that's the Luxury Edition here. Still very, very slim, as you would notice Motorola Razrs are. And yeah, of course you have the iconic numpad here, which you flip it open. This is the little laser little etched numpad that Motorola Razrs were famous for. So yeah, it's an iconic looking device, not quite as iconic as the V3, the original, but this is the better phone though. It's got better specs than the original. So yeah, I think I will keep this one. You gotta have a Motorola Razr. The Motorola Razr is one of the most significant designs in the history of phones. So extremely iconic in the 2000s. So I didn't have a Razr when I was, at the time, but I have to acknowledge how many, like people these days, Gen Z does not know this, how popular Razrs were back in the 2000s. They were everywhere, okay? They were like iPods, the iPods of the phone world. So I gotta keep a Razr. They're just historically significant. Okay, next one is, the Microsoft Kin 2. Okay, this is a obscure device. Microsoft, I think they made this for just 2 months before they discontinued it. It was a huge failure for them. It's like a messaging phone. It's meant geared towards millennials like me, but the thing is everyone was using like smartphones or a T-Mobile Sidekick if you're using a messenger device. So yeah, looks pretty bland. Doesn't look like anything special. It says Microsoft Kin on the back. Yeah, this is like a failed device. It does have a flip-out, slide-out keyboard like this. The keypad here, the QWERTY keyboard isn't very good. It's like this bubble shape, which I don't like. Same one as the Motorola Slide. Yeah, it doesn't have Sidekick Slide. I mean, has the same kind of bubble keyboard. I don't like this design. Yeah, it ran kind of its own operating system, but again, it's kind of considered a historic failure. So I guess it might be interesting if you're collecting, just like from a historically interesting standpoint. Like I think the comparison would be the Amazon Fire Phone, right? Yeah, so Amazon Fire Phone, same thing. It kind of failed. But the thing is, I actually think the Amazon Fire Phone is interesting to use. Like when I use the Amazon Fire Phone, it's actually quite interesting to use. It runs Fire OS. The Kin 2 isn't even interesting to use. I've used it before and like just for my YouTube video, but it doesn't do anything interesting or special. It's got like this little layout here, and then yeah, you can like I am your friends and stuff, and okay, whatever. The T-Mobile Sidekick was just better. I mean, just any smartphone was better at the time. There's no reason to have this. This was just, I have it in my collection because it's kind of like a historically interesting failure, but not interesting enough for me to keep. I think I'm going to put that in to sell. Okay, this one is kind of like the Toshiba that we saw, but also different. So it's the HTC Universal, also called the iMate Jazz Jar. Yeah, it's called the iMate Jazz Jar. But I think HTC made these devices. This is another one of those PDA smartphone combination devices. So it ran Windows Mobile, which is also I think what the Toshiba ran as well. 2005 I think is when this came out. Yeah, SD card, full size. Oh my god. Okay, the calling and hang up buttons are on the side of the device here, on the hinge, and they're tiny. Who puts these calling buttons on the hinge of the device? What the heck? They put the call, the pickup, and hang up buttons on the side, on the hinge of the device, and they're tiny. Okay, and then you got the power buttons, the sliding switch right here. Yeah, it's kind of a weird device. So this is the outside of the device, but you can actually, like, you open it up, and it's like one of those communicator type devices, right? Or the palm top PDA devices. So it's got a full QWERTY keyboard in here, just like a Nokia communicator or the Toshiba. And it's got the navigation here on top as well, webcam. And yeah, overall it's definitely interesting. And then you can flip it over. So it's actually convertible. You can rotate the screen, you flip it over, and then that's when it becomes like a phone, like a, yeah, this is basically like a prototype smartphone type of device. It's no, it is a smartphone. It just, now it kind of looks like a more modern-ish smartphone, right? Like a 2010 smartphone. But this is from 2005, so it's pretty interesting. I think this is why it had so many controls on the side of the device. It had so many controls on the side because I think you can flip it over and use it as a phone like this. And then they have call, hang up on the hinge. So yeah, very interesting design. Oh, power button's on the bottom here. Why is it on the bottom? Power button's on the bottom. So weird. Yeah, it's definitely a weird device, I would say, in many ways. Very cool and interesting, but also weird. I'm not sure what to think of it. It's like a palm top, and you open it up. It is a pocket PC because it's running Windows Mobile. So it's like a pocket PC that's like a mini handheld PC or a palm top device, and it also converts into a full-fledged prototype smartphone type of device. Or yeah, it's a weird device, man. It's all I have to say is it's probably one of the most unique pocket PCs I've seen, if you can call this a pocket PC. It's one of the most unique and interesting pocket PCs I've seen in terms of design. Yeah, I'm not sure what I think about this one. I think I'll put this one in the maybe section because I'm not sure what I think about it. It's not like historically unique or interesting, but it's just a pretty unique design for a pocket PC, I would say. You have this like open up and then convert it and then flip it back down and it's a pocket PC. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Put in the maybe section. I also find it interesting on the HTC Universal. So like I said, you can call and hang up just on the hinge, like using the using the buttons on the hinge here. You can call and hang up, but you can also do so on the keyboard itself. So you can call and hang up also on the keyboard. So they give you multiple ways to call and hang up on people. I find that pretty interesting as well. And yeah, this little webcam here is also pretty interesting. I actually think this is like almost like a Zorus or a Sony Clie PDA that I have, right? It's almost like a little palm top PDA device, more so than a phone. But it's also a phone, which makes it actually quite an interesting device. So definitely this one is a maybe for me because it is so interesting. It runs Windows Mobile 5. So if I want to have a more interesting pocket PC, which is essentially what this is a Windows Mobile phone. It's a pocket PC as well. So it's definitely one of the more interesting pocket PCs, I would say. So yeah, definitely a very interesting device. More so of a PDA than a phone, but it can also be a phone. A full-size SD card slot and everything, and the power button on the bottom. Yeah, it's just a very interesting design, I would say. And a camera on the back too, which is, I believe, only 1.3 megapixels, but that's, you know, standard, I guess, for 2005. Okay, so this is actually probably the one I want to keep here. This is the T-Mobile Sidekick 3. So the Sidekick 3 was released in 2006, right around the height of the Sidekick's popularity. One of the most popular Sidekicks as well, and definitely more historically significant than the Motorola Sidekick Slide. It's got the trackball nub right here, navigation, as well as your D-pad type navigation buttons right here. And 1.3 megapixel camera, not very good, but you know, at the time, I guess actually even at the time wasn't great, but still, that's what it was back then. Its back's getting kind of sticky now, but not quite as much as the Sidekick Slide was. Yeah, volume controls right here at the bottom. Oh no, this is actually one of those devices that can either be you can open from top. Okay, yeah, I see. It's because of the display. So it's a little bit weird that you know the orientation of this device actually. I guess you can have you have buttons on both the bottom and the top here. So if you consider this the top, then the power buttons right here, volume buttons, and then here, if this is the bottom, calling buttons right here. But yeah, the Sidekick is pretty interesting, historically significant, because they were very popular for young people back then for messaging. They had all your IMs back then, your MSN, your YIM, AIM, ICQ, popular messengers back then. You had to consider at the times, like regular phones couldn't do those things, right? You usually had to use those apps on your PC. So if you still want to keep up with your instant messengers on the go, you would have to buy one of these messaging devices, of which the Sidekick was the most popular. Yeah, that's the thing. I remember back in the day, because this is in the 2000s, like people using AIM and MSN, ICQ all the time. Those are very, very popular messaging programs. And when you were outside, then you couldn't normally use them, right? So how do you keep up with your instant messages when you're on the go? Back when you didn't have the smartphones really to download those kind of apps. Well, yeah, that's when these kind of devices came into the equation, just so you can keep up with those things. especially for young people, right? Using instant messaging a lot. And of course, this has the iconic swivel keyboard. So let's take a look at that again. Basically, you have to lift up from the bottom, and then, yeah, it's like that. Very iconic kind of swivel keyboard. Buttons, the QWERTY keyboard is not great. I still like it better than the bubble keyboard, but yeah, it's very stiff. Kind of hurts you a little depressed. But yeah, this is a pretty iconic design though. I know it was very popular back in the day. I didn't own a Sidekick, but I know like a lot of people did. And yeah, normally, yeah, you would just like call like this, and you have a hang up. You have your yeah, hang up and calling buttons right here. Yeah, very interesting design. And then you have the swivel form factor right here. Really, really cool. Yeah, Sidekick 3 is actually made by Sharp, right? Japanese corporation. I'm going to keep this one. I think the T-Mobile Sidekick is historically interesting, and this was really around the height of the popularity of the Sidekick, which is around 2006. 2005, 2006, I think. Danger Hip Top is also what it was called. Okay, so now this is another cool device that many people might not know about. It's a Sony Milo 2. So this was Sony's, this was basically Sony's take on the messaging phone, except it wasn't a phone. It was actually just, you can message people on it with IMs, like, yeah, MSN. I don't think it has MSN, actually it has AIM on it, and it has a few other messaging programs. And you can browse the web, you can put photos on here, music, video, but it wasn't a phone, and it's not, technically not a PDA either, because you can't really install apps on it. It has its own operating system. It's not Palm OS or Windows, not Pocket PC or anything. So it's kind of hard to define what this thing is, because it's just really just for messaging and for like, if you're outside and you, wait a minute, could you use hotspots back then? Anyways, really, yeah, on the go, you had your, if you had put a data plan inside of this, and then you can kind of just browse the web on the go and message people, and yeah, maybe view some pictures and listen to music and stuff like that. But you can't really call anyone, and you can't really install other apps on it. So yeah, a bit of a weird device in its own way. I think the closest comparison is Nokia N810, which is considered an internet tablet. So basically, it's just like a limited set of features that you might use, and I think it was definitely geared towards younger people. So anyways, they weren't very successful. I don't think I know many people that bought these. Definitely the Sidekick was a lot more popular, so it's not as popular as that. So you got removable battery, which is normal for the time. Made in Japan, which is actually a thing. Right back then, devices were actually made in Japan. Milo, and this is the second version. They made another version as well, the first version. They didn't make any after that. You have even a macro. It has a camera, so you can still take pictures. So that's a macro mode as well. And self-portrait mirror. Remember when you had that on phones? Self-portrait mirror. Memory card. Yeah, it was memory stick, because that's what Sony's format was back then, memory stick. Volume, and you have your navigation right here with a little like nub that wasn't very good to navigate with. You can turn Wi-Fi on and off, power switch on the side, and it has it's a slide out QWERTY keyboard right here. The keyboard isn't very good, it's very flat. You have to keep, it's like a hard membrane, so you gotta like press on it very hard. It's a very flat keyboard, so kind of had to press hard on it. But yeah, so it's a slide out. I don't know, I don't think this is a, I have it because it's interesting that Sony made a device like this and not many people know about it. Wasn't as popular as the Sidekick. Mainly meant for messaging, but you can also like put your photos, videos, and songs on it. So it's kind of like a PMP, I guess, as well, portable music, portable media player. Could also browse the internet, but not sure. It's a very niche device, very niche and kind of obscure device. So I'm not sure if I should keep this. I think I have other devices that are more unique and historically interesting. So I'll put this here to sell. Alright. And lastly, actually, in this box, I have actually a pretty interesting device for Sony. Another one. It's called Sony Tablet P. So this is another interesting device for Sony. Sony made a lot of cool devices as well. The Sony Tablet P came out in 2011. It ran Android 3, Honeycomb. So that was not an open source version of Android. But yeah, you might be wondering, this is a tablet? It doesn't look like a tablet at all, right? It even has a camera right here. Yeah, so the interesting thing about this one is that it's a dual screen tablet. That's right. So a dual screen tablet back in 2011 was pretty cool. I remember I actually had this set up as an alarm clock of sorts. I just have it laid down here and I have this showing the clock and display. So I had this set up as an alarm for many years, and it is a cool, interesting device. Yeah, it's a tablet, but it's a tablet that folds up, and you can't, it's not really pocketable, but if you have like a large blazer or jacket, then I guess you can kind of put this in your pockets there. But yeah, this came out what? Samsung came out with their fold phone in 2020, or 2019. So this is like 8 or 9 years before foldables came out. Now we have foldables, right? Right now we do have folding tablets. But this was back in 2011 and you had a folding tablet. Yeah, it's a tablet that folds. So Sony is really ahead of their time in many ways, but they never support their devices long enough for people to notice. That's the thing. That's the Sony. Sony always does this, right? They create something really innovative and interesting and unique, and then they just never market it, and they just don't support it after like a year or two, and then people just, yeah, they end up forgetting that Sony made something like this. But yeah, it's a foldable tablet in 2011. This is like almost a decade before Samsung's Folds came out. Crazy, right? Yeah, charging and power all right there. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this. I think historically it's interesting. Also usable even today. You can use it as an alarm clock. You can even use it today. It's pretty cool. Right, so I forgot to talk about the I/O of the Sony Tablet P. So on the side here you have a power button, DC adapter or AC adapter, micro USB, volume buttons, headphone jack. Of course, you gotta have that back then. Camera, I'm not sure the megapixel count, but there's a camera. And yeah, also you can remove the top lid cover and you have a SIM card slot right here. So you can use this instead of having a phone if you just care about data. And of course made in Japan as well. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's the I/O of the Sony Tablet P. Pretty cool device. On to the next box. This one's pretty heavy. Alright, okay, this one is I forgot I had this one. This is the Cowon V5W. Cowon is a Korean company. They used to make a lot of portable media players and MP3 players. Actually, they still do. They're just not as popular as before. But yeah, this is the V5W here. It runs Linux. And because it runs Linux, it can actually do a lot of stuff, but it's mostly for playing video. And just like the Arcos, it has good video support. I think, why do I have this? Is because it runs full Linux, I think. Is that why? And a power switch right here. Is this compact flash? No, maybe it's just a full-size SD here. I think this came out in 2008. Yeah, volume. Okay. Anyways, I think I had this because I just wanted to have another Linux tablet or a PMP device where I can just do a lot of stuff with. And this one fits the bill. Headphone jack right here. And Cowon is actually kind of known for having pretty good audio quality for the time. I mean, they put decent DACs in their devices and stuff at the time. Now, of course, you have DAPs, right? Digital audio players that have extremely good DACs. But back then, Cowon was one of the companies that really paid attention to the audio quality of their players. So out of all the media players back then, Cowon probably sounded the best. But yeah, this just doesn't do anything interesting enough for me to keep. The Arcos does something way more interesting, which is like you can record, video from your TV and stuff. And the Arcos just interface was better anyways. And the Creative even is more well known, I guess. But maybe Cowon's more well known in Korea. I don't know. iRiver and Cowon are Korean companies. So yeah, anyways, this one's not very interesting enough for me to keep. Okay. This is definitely a keeper. This is the HP Elite X3. It is, I think this is the very last Windows phone ever made. This is like considered the swan song of Windows phones. Maybe the Lumia. One of the Lumias might have been made later than this. But anyways, maybe not the last Windows phone ever made, but one of the last, and also the most powerful. Yeah, so I remember this being the most powerful Windows phone and one of the last made, and also had a very unique feature where if you connect it to the dock, connected to the docking station, and you can connect it to your monitor, and then it becomes like a computer. So it's called this feature called Continuum, where it was kind of like this initiative where for Windows Phone, where you dock your Windows Phone onto this dock, you connect it to your computer, and then your computer, it becomes like almost not full-blown Windows, but like desktop Windows essentially. So it's like using one device, and you can be like both be your desktop computer and your phone. It's really, really cool in concept. Unfortunately, Windows Phone did not survive, not because it was bad, but because of Android. It's just hard to overcome Android. So don't think of like these operating systems as failures in a way. It's just hard to compete with Android, right? Windows Phone was actually pretty good to use. It wasn't bad at all. Just couldn't match up to Android because Android had too much support. But yeah, the HP Elite X3, I would say this is one of the last and most powerful Windows Phone, and also had the Continuum feature, which is really cool. Not all Windows phones had that. This is one of the only ones that had it, actually. And also very premium looking too. It has this Bang & Olufsen speaker grill right here. Really, really cool. So also headphone jack, because it's still 2016, right? Yeah. Overall, this is a keeper, I think, just for Windows Phone, and having probably the best Windows Phone ever made. Yeah, HP Elite X3. Oh, another HP device, the HP iPAQ 210, one of the last and most powerful PDAs, actually Windows Pocket PC devices. Yeah, so the iPAQ was a line of very popular, well, relatively popular, I can't say Pocket PCs were popular, but relatively popular among Pocket PC devices. iPAQ was probably the most well-known. Compaq made them, and then HP made them after they took over Compaq. And this was probably one of the last iPAQs ever made, and thus one of the most powerful. Ran Windows Mobile Classic. And yeah, this is I'm going to say it's a classic PDA form factor here. And you have navigation here, the Windows Mobile button, Mail, which is Outlook, Calendar, power button right here. Supports both SD and compact flash. You can see the size of compact flash, right? Significantly larger than SD. That's what was used back then. Removable battery, headphone jack, docking connector. Yeah, so as a historically significant device, I think if I want to just have like one representative device for Pocket PC, I think the HP iPAQ would be it. iPAQs were probably the most popular Pocket PC devices. So yeah, I think I'll probably keep this one because yeah, I want to keep one representative Pocket PC device, and it will be an HP iPAQ, and this is one of the most powerful, so keep that one. Yeah, also a power button up here, and of course it charges with, at the time, mini USB was the standard, not micro USB. I think there's this button right here, I'm not sure what it does. I think this might be like some kind of programmable button right here. So that's interesting. Also, of course, you got to have the stylus. So this is a resistive touchscreen, right? All the PDAs back then have resistive touchscreens, so you got to use the stylus to do things. Yeah, overall, one of the last true PDAs, right? That's not a phone, and very powerful for the time. Also, one of the last iPAQs as well, which is a historically significant PDA line, I'd say. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about when I say I have a lot of other Palm OS devices that are more interesting than the Palm TX. So this is a Sony Clie UX50, runs Palm OS 5.4 as well, I think, or just 5. Came out 2004, and yeah, it runs pretty much the same operating system as the Palm TX did, right here. Except the Palm TX is very basic looking, very typical PDA looking, but this is way more interesting of a device. So the Clie, oh, this is actually a dock. So the Clie is a line of PDAs that Sony made. So what's cool about this one, the UX50, is that it's almost like a pocket mini computer. So you can open it up and it becomes like a little pocket mini laptop device, and it ran Palm OS as well. So it's, yeah, fully fledged PDA, except it looks like a mini laptop. You have these circular keys right here, which aren't great, but you know, hey, I'll give it a pass because it's so small, right? You can capture video here. You can actually record video using the record button here. This camera is a swivel button, so you can actually swivel the camera over, so you can take pictures from the back or from the front. Very cool. You have a little roller here for scrolling web pages. Dedicated browser, back button. You have a little keychain ring for hooking it up. USB right here, it's power switch. On the side here, SD card slot, headphone jack, and stylus right here, because it is a resistive touchscreen. You can do that. On top of all that, it is convertible as well. You can flip it down and it becomes a tablet. You can, you know, write your stylus and stuff just like you do on a Palm. Yeah, this is a much more interesting device than the Palm TX and runs the same version of Palm OS, I think. So this is probably the one I'll keep. If I wanted to keep one representative Palm OS device, might as well be a very cool, unique one, and that's what the Sony Clie UX50 is. So this is going to be my Palm OS device, and yeah, I have the docking station for it as well. I think this is made in Japan, as all of these products were back in the day, right? Nowadays, everything made in China or, you know, Malaysia or something, India. This is made in Japan, you know, made in Japan, which means that it should last a long time. All right, keeping that one. So yeah, my representative Pocket PC and my representative Palm OS device. Gotta have the PDAs. Okay. This is another interesting one. Zipit Z2 Messenger, another messenger device, kind of like the Sony Milo. It's not a phone. You can't call people. It's really just for messaging. But you can hack this one to install your own Linux image because it does run Linux. So a lot of people have done that. It's got a removable battery, docking connector right here, SD card slot, and it opens up to be like a mini laptop, palm top device basically. Navigation right here. This came out in 2007, I think, around the time of all these messenger devices. The keys are very clicky. They're not great keys, but they're extremely clicky. Look at that. Extremely clicky keys. Wow. Yeah, so it's very colorful actually. Little blue keys, very colorful, bright blue. And previous and next, I think this might be for navigating pages, web pages. Power button right there. I like how colorful it is, and yeah, it might be like just a really cute looking device actually. A little cute little palm top computer thing that's really like meant for messaging. But I actually installed my own Linux image onto this because there is a community of hackers that you can install full-blown Linux onto it, and then it really just becomes like a mini laptop. So very cool device. Headphone, it's a proprietary headphone jack. I think you gotta. I think that's also the charger's right here. Yeah, it's like that's a proprietary headphone jack. Anyways, it's a pretty cute looking device. You can install your custom Linux image onto it, and then it becomes just really like a pocket computer, which is really, really cool. So I think I'll just keep it just for that. Like a little pocket mini handheld computer. Even though this company is like, I don't know how many people even know this company, Zipit. They're not doing business anymore, but just to have such a cool little thing, right? A little pocket computer like that's cool. Okay. Now, this is another PMP I have, portable media player. It's the Philips PMC by Philips, right? They make everything. I think I got this because I want to have a device with portable media center. So Microsoft had this portable media center initiative in the mid-2000s. I think they even had Windows XP Media Center Edition. And this came out in 2006, right when the mid-2000s is when the portable media center thing came about. It really was like a shell built on top of Windows CE that was more geared towards playing media files. Like Windows Media Player was basically the center of it all. And yeah, this is one of them. And there was a few devices made with using the PMC, and you can tell the PMC thing because it has this Windows logo here, but it's in green. So usually if it's like running this PMC operating system, then it will have this logo here. Creative had the Zen Media Center. I think iRiver had the PMC as well. So there's a few different companies that made these portable media players that was running Windows PMC. But the thing is, PMC honestly is not great for playing media. Ironically, it's designed for that, but in practice, I think it's because the Plays for Sure and all the other things that Microsoft did, it's like kind of like iTunes, right? It's like you have to have their format that Microsoft likes. You got to convert all your formats into the formats that Microsoft likes. It's not like Creative or Arcos where I can just put all my video files and they would just work. No, with PMC devices, you had to convert them just like with iTunes. So it was actually a pain in the ass to get them working. Anyways, Philips PMC is pretty cool design too. It's like a mini TV. right? You got the navigational D-pad here and the play pause volume right here, slider switch for power, DC adapter jack there, and headphone jack up here. What's also cool about the Philips PMC is that just like the Arcos, you can technically record from your TV, although it's not quite as fully featured as the Arcos. So you have actually AV in and AV out here. So these little jacks here, technically you can record from your TV using the special cables, but it doesn't work quite as well as with the Arcos. The Arcos has a complete docking station, and you can, yeah, there's a lot more, like it even has component in, I think, with the Arcos. This one is just very basic, just composite in, so it doesn't record any kind of HD signals at all. Yeah, overall, still a cool device, just not quite as powerful as the Arcos is, and I think my Arcos just does everything better, right? The thing is, if I have my Arcos, I don't really need to have this Philips PMC anymore. It's just, this is just not as good. PMC operating system, Portable Media Center, just is a little bit finicky with the formats it plays, and even being able to record from TV is AV in, so not just your TV, you can be anything, camcorder or video game systems as well. Having that feature is really cool, but Arcos does it better. So yeah, anyways, still a cool device, but I think I'm gonna put this to sell because I don't need that if I have my Arcos. Okay, Cyberco Extreme. I have this is a gaming handheld from the early 2000s. I have this because back in the early 2000s, I actually had a Cyberco. I was one of the very few that had one. Remember, I actually bought one, and this is before I owned my Casio Pocket PC, by the way. That came later. Yeah, so when I was in 7th grade, when I was just like 12 years old, I owned like a Cyberco, the first one, not this one. And you can download free games and play on it. It was a black and white display, but it was still fun. I remember those games actually being pretty good, and they were free actually to download. So the keyboard wasn't very good, but hey, I think as a historically interesting device, right, nowadays it's completely obscure now, but at the time it was pretty cool, and I was pretty much the only person I know that owned one, right? And after that, I think for some reason it got bricked somehow. I remember when I was transferring some files, I bricked the Cyberco and then it stopped working, and then I got the Casio, which I showed at the beginning. Yeah, the Casio BE300 I got a year later, and this one also got bricked too. And this, unfortunately, I tried installing some custom operating system called Xpod onto it, and I think I ended up bricking this one too. So both of these devices I got when I was a kid, I bricked, unfortunately. But yeah, this is Cyberco Extreme. It's a sequel, the next revision after the original Cyberco. I never tried this one or played this one. This is technically superior though. And the keyboard is a little bit better. The original keyboard sucked. You had to even use a stylus to press the keys onto that one. This one you don't need to have a stylus to press the keys. Still very mushy though. Yeah, still an interesting device. And yeah, you have all these like shortcuts up here because this company, the Cyberco company, I think their original goal was that they had a lot of these, they were planning to sell a lot of these things, and so that kids, they're mostly geared towards preteens and teenagers, that they could use them and then they could play with each other and kind of communicate with each other. They even had like a Cyberco chat and stuff. In this one called Cylandia, right? They had like these like games where you can play with each other, you can chat with each other. So it's a cool concept, but just not enough people bought them. So it ended up really not being that useful. Yeah, they had it was like, oh, you can communicate with other people with Cybercos around you. And I was like, I'm the only person that has one. So anyways, it's a cool device, historically cool, just for being like not iconic or anything, like it's a kind of obscure, but just being one of those historical failures that it just never caught on, unfortunately. Even though I think it was actually a good device, it just didn't catch on. It was cool for the time. I have sentimental feelings about Cyberco. But anyways, I can't get this one working. I tried. I connected it to my Windows 98 computer even, couldn't get it working, unfortunately. Yeah, you have to, like, it comes with a bunch of pre-installed applications, so of course that part is working, but if you want to install your games, the Cyberco games, you have to get the software working, and I couldn't get the software working. Yeah, it's an antenna, stuff like this. I couldn't get the software working, so I wasn't able to install the games that I wanted on here, unfortunately. I think there's still some servers up there that may have these games stored somewhere, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I really wanted to play these Cyberco games again. It's been such a long time since I played them. But yeah, unfortunately it doesn't work, so I'm not sure. Maybe I can still sell it, even though it doesn't. It does work. It's just that I can't get it to transfer new games onto it. Okay, now this is the Nokia N810. So this is called an internet tablet, and this is kind of similar to the Sony Milo I was talking about. So the Sony Milo, right? This thing was essentially a messenger, but you got like PMP functionality onto it. You can like play your photos and video and music. Can also browse the web. So it's like a portable media player plus with internet messaging and web browsing. And that's really what the N810 is, except the N810 is more powerful than the Milo 2. Yeah, this is more powerful than the Milo 2, and it's a more premium device. Came out in 2008. It ran Maimo, which is kind of like Linux. It's like Nokia's version of Linux, basically, Maimo. Webcam up here, and even has like a kickstand. So you can kind of like set it on here and kind of like watch your videos and stuff. So pretty cool, very premium. Actually, the materials and everything feel very solid. Headphone jack here and charger. These Nokia chargers were proprietary, but they worked on most Nokia devices. So it's like technically Nokia tried to make a charging standard for themselves. So at least before USB-C. So I have to give a little bit of props to Nokia for at least making kind of the same charger for all the devices. Power button up here and volume. Yeah, and it has a slide-up keyboard. So yeah, like this slide-up keyboard. This QWERTY keyboard is okay. I think I like it a bit better than the Milo's keyboard, even though it's still pretty flat. But I like it better than the Milo's keyboard. And navigation buttons right here. Yeah, this is overall a better player than the Sony Milo 2 is. It's more premium looking. It's more powerful. It runs Maimo, so you can actually, which is based on Linux, so you can install other Linux applications onto it. And the Milo 2 is just this Sony's own operating system. And yeah, it's just overall faster and browse the internet better. So this can do everything, really, except for calling. It's not really a phone, but yeah, it can pretty much do everything except for calling, since it runs like a version of Linux essentially. So browse the web, play music, play videos, message people. This really was meant for advertised as a like a portable media player that can also message and browse the web essentially. But it's marketed as the internet tablet. So anyways, always thought it was pretty interesting, but I'm not going to keep it, and the reason why is because I have the N900, which is a successor to this thing. So I don't need to have this if I have the N900. Okay, Sony PSP Go. So yeah, this is a very interesting device because I think this was the first gaming console that was like entirely, the games were all entirely digital. So it had no way of playing physical games, because the original PSP can play physical games, of course, with the UMD disc, but with the PSP Go, it's all digital. So you had to download it onto this device, and it's kind of pioneer in that respect. Nowadays you have the PS5 digital edition, Xbox digital edition, but PSP Go did it first. So really ahead of its time in that sense. Pretty cool little player. PlayStation button right here, and a classic PSP. And of course this one has a slide-out keyboard, not keyboard, but slide-out controls. So you have the face buttons right here, and the D-pad, and a little analog stick, select to start. Those are your typical Sony PSP controls right here. So yeah, pretty cool there. Trigger buttons, volume. This is a proprietary charger, of course, a headphone jack. And here you have your memory stick, M2. And wireless switch and power switch right here. So yeah, overall pretty cool device. Yeah, I like the little slide out form factor here. The original PSP did not have a slide out form factor. The PSP Go does. So that's pretty cool. Playing digital games. I think you can actually install your emulators onto this thing, so you can hack it, and then it becomes like a little emulator console, and it's actually pretty decent for that. So I can play like my little retro emulation games. You can actually use it to play like in ROMs and stuff like that, emulators. So that's pretty cool. The thing is, I'm not sure if I should keep this because I have a lot of other handhelds that can do emulation. And while they're not PSPs, but Yeah, I can't say the controls are the best for this. I mean, it's okay for the time. It's 2005. Yeah, 2005, these controls were okay. They were acceptable. But nowadays, when you have, I have my Razer Edge, I have my Amber Nix, like, those controls just feel way better. And those do emulation much better too. So I'm not sure. Thing is, I like the PSP Go. It really was ahead of its time when it comes to digital downloads and stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure if I should keep it. I think I'll just put this on the 2-cell as well, because I have a lot of other better emulation devices. Okay, the WikiReader. This is an interesting device. So basically, this device just lets you read Wikipedia offline. that's really what it does. And it's powered by AA batteries as well. So it's really meant to be used in a kind of off-the-grid situation, I think. Like, say you're camping or something, or you're out in the country, I don't know, somewhere remote, and you don't have access to the internet. This is meant to be used completely like offline, off the grid. And yeah, basically you would insert, I think this should have, no, not here. Let's see, where is the ports? Anyways, I think there should be a way to actually hook this up, but then I don't actually see any ports on this device, just the power button, that's it. Huh. I wonder how I updated this. I remember I updated this with the latest Wikipedia entries as of 2019 when I got this. So you only have 3 buttons here. You have search, history, and random. Random just shows your random article. And searching, obviously, you're going to search Wikipedia and history. It's great for people like me who love reading Wikipedia and reading about history. But yeah, it's not very useful. Obviously, if you're in an area that has internet or data, then you don't need this. This is really for an off-the-grid situation. And also you have to constantly keep it up to date, because you got to manually update it. I just forget, how did I update this? It doesn't have any kind of USB connection or anything. I wonder, how did I update it? I forget. Anyways, not worth keeping. It's just like kind of a curiosity, because you can use it to read Wikipedia offline. I love reading Wikipedia. That's actually my the main thing I read is Wikipedia. Actually, I love reading all the different articles to learn about things. But yeah, it's not useful for me. So, alright, so for the WikiReader, I did find out how I was able to get data onto it. So basically there is no USB connectors or anything. There's no ports on this device. But basically you have to open up the battery cover here, normally where you put the batteries, right? There's also a micro SD card slot inside of the battery slot here. So yeah, and then there's like a little tiny slot where you can push out a micro SD card. So that's basically how you get data onto it. So yeah, no ports, because you don't need to charge it, right? It just takes batteries. And yeah, you put data onto it. Basically, you would just fill the SD card with newer Wikipedia articles and just update it, and then you would just manually put it here. And yeah, that's how it gets updated data. So you basically just have to update it on an external micro SD card and put it in here. So that's how it works. Right there. Okay, the Sharp Saurus C1000. Okay, so this is something kind of similar to the Sony Clie I showed earlier. Essentially like a Palm Top type device, a PDA, except this one's made by Sharp, and instead of running Palm, it runs Linux. So pretty cool. I think this one should be built in Japan as well. So you have your on power button right here, and also stylus right here. Of course, these resistive touchscreens back then. SD card slot right at the front. DC in, OK and cancel. It's got little buttons here for OK and cancel. Okay, little volume slider here, I think. Micro USB, no, mini USB. Headphone jack, compact flash slot right here. Right, it's got both SD and compact flash, which is nice. And yeah, it's just like the Sony Clie, it opens up like this. So it becomes, it's a mini computer essentially, especially since it runs full-blown Linux. And yeah, just like with the Sony Clie, you can convert it into a tablet. It folds down like that. And then you get out your stylus and you can kind of use this as like a Palm, really, just like a PDA. So yeah, pretty cool. And then the Keyboard here is not great, but again, I have to give it a little pass because of its form factor. It's really small. Got dedicated buttons for calendar, address, mail, home menu, a little D-pad navigation here, cancel. Overall, pretty cool. I think this has a little bit of a cult following, right? People are Sharpsaurus fans. It is a pretty good device. Just thing is, I already have my Sony Clie, which does something very similar. So yeah, I'm Sony Clie and the Sharpsaurus. Very similar devices, except this one runs Palm OS, this one runs Linux. I don't know, I like them both. It's hard for me to choose one. I know they're both similar, and I shouldn't have both because they do similar things, but at the same time, I love both. I just love these small little Japanese devices. They're just so cool to me. So anyway, Sony Clie and Sharpsaurus. I think I'm just going to keep both of them, to be honest. I love both of them so much. I can't pick one. Okay, so this is the Cowon 5MX. So this is I guess you can consider this kind of like a handheld PC, I guess, or a palm top or a PDA. It's made by British company Cowon, which actually pioneered a lot of these types of devices. It's got stylus here, which keeps falling out. Put that aside for now. Ooh, it's got an extra expansion port here at the back, I think. There's another expansion port right there. And so this thing's actually powered by 2 different batteries, I think. It's powered by, so rechargeable battery, of course, but then it's got also this watch battery here, which I think is powering some other functionality, maybe some more basic functionality like the internal clock. It would be powering with the watch battery. So that battery can always be swapped out. There's another expansion port right here, or actually slot for a card, maybe compact flash, I don't know. But there's another slot for a card here. And yeah, this one, unfortunately, the hinge is not very good. I think it's broken. Yeah. But see, once you open it up, the keyboard for the Cowon is widely praised. Okay, so we can open it. Yeah. So basically, it looks like this, and it has this is like a calculator type display. It's not color. It's like an LCD type display that's black and white. You would use the stylus still because it still is touch sensitive, and then you have system, word, sheet, contacts, agenda, email, calculator, jotter, and extras. Yeah, so I think a lot of people still has kind of a cult following, Cowon computers, and a lot of people love their keyboard. I think the keyboard is very good for the time. This is 1999, right? If you compare it to a lot of the other keyboards in other handhelds, this keyboard is very good for the time. Very responsive, easy to hit, got good feedback and travel. That's why when Planet Computers came out, that's another British company, startup. I own several of their devices like the Gemini PDA, the Cosmo Communicator, the Astra Slide. They actually hired the same designer from Cowon to develop the same keyboards for those devices. Because the keyboard is just, yeah, it's pretty good for a device of this type, especially for its time. So, still is good. I mean, just for this type of device, I think. Yeah, really good. It's got even a backlight. Really cool. Easy to hit. You would use this with your palms, typing. Oh, yeah. So yeah, pretty cool palm top computer. I would say Cowon is a historically significant company for PDAs, but just this device is not working well, I would say. Yeah, but hey, I think if someone wants to be able to fix this device, they can. I might be able to just sell this device in this kind of condition, and maybe someone else can fix the hinge. I think it's just the hinge that's the issue. It's kind of coming apart. But yeah, I do like the Cowon device. It's, yeah, I'm not sure. I think if someone can fix this hinge, then I might be more willing to keep it. But for now, it's like, in this condition, it's, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll put this in the maybe column. Yeah, if someone can fix the hinge, then that'll be different. But okay, I have another handheld PC here. So this is the HP Jornada 720, I think. So yeah, another handheld PC. So these handheld PCs were just like a different type of form factor than the Palm Pilots, right? They have basically like a mini laptop form factor. So the Cowon, you can consider this a handheld PC. So that's basically what it is. It's like the alternative to the Palm Pilot form factor. You can all call it Palm Top as well, but they're not running Palm OS. Cowon was running its own operating system, and the Jornada runs Windows CE, which is the predecessor to Pocket PC operating system. So this one, well, I think came out, what, 2001, 2002 is when this one came out. It's the Jornada, so this must have been right before, it must have been before HP bought Compaq, because after HP bought Compaq, they got rid of the Jornada series and then rebranded them iPac because, well, you know, Jornada was competing with iPac at the time. So anyways, yeah, headphone jack right here. This is some kind of a, actually, not sure, this is, oh, compact flash maybe? But compact flash is down here. Okay, this must have been another expansion port. So this is another port for expansion down here, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure exactly what that is for, but you can put another expansion port down here. Another, it's not exactly USB. It looks kind of like USB. Another port right there. And charging right there. This one would be for the stylus. So the stylus, right, comes up here. Usually it's around here. You got volume right here and a slider for power. On the bottom is where you find the compact flash. So this one is where the compact flash card slot is, and then it comes out. You can also have the battery here. I think this is for the clock, the internal clock, and the Cowon had this as well. Yeah, and a removable battery. So this thing was a pretty high-end handheld computer for the time. So yeah, and you open it up, full QWERTY keyboard. And in general, these handheld PCs actually had pretty decent keyboards. I mean, for the size, this one not quite as good as the Cowon keyboard, but it's pretty close, to be honest. The keyboard is pretty decent for the Jornada. So, and then you had a similar thing right to the Cowon, where you can kind of, on the side here, you can have like stuff you can press. Just pretty cool for like an early 2000s PDA type computer, ran Windows CE and everything. Really, really cool. Yeah. I mean, these are actually pretty nice keys. Yeah, definitely pretty nice. I might think about keeping it. This is a 720. HP Jornada 720. It is more powerful than the Cowon. So if I keep a handheld PC, like, which is kind of like this kind of form factor, running like a PDA operating system like Windows CE, I think I'll probably keep the Jornada over the Cowon. That's just me. So yeah. It's a maybe. I'm still thinking about this. So another interesting thing about the HP Jornada is it has a modem jack right here. So yeah, this is back in the day when people had dial-up modems, right? That's how they surfed the internet back then. So you would put your phone line into here, and then you can actually connect to the internet, which is pretty cool, right? This is like 2001, 2002. Of course, a lot of people still using dial-up at that time. So yeah, you would just hook up your phone line to here. Also, another interesting thing I noticed is this is made in Singapore. Yeah, you don't really see many devices that's made in Singapore, but this one's actually made in Singapore, so I also find that kind of interesting. And yeah, just a really, really cool looking handheld PC. Probably one of my favorite looking handheld PCs. Just one of the best, I think, of the time, of the era. You had to compete with, you know, Compaq had theirs back then. NEC had their, had some Mobile Pro, I think, was their lineup of, yeah, remember when NEC made computers and sold them in America, right? Now they only sell in Japan. I think Cowon, of course, I already went through. A couple others, but I think the Jornada is definitely one of the best handheld PCs of its era. So let's continue on here. I think I have 16 items here, so 9 more. Okay, so this one, the BlackBerry Torch. I think I have this one just because it's a slider BlackBerry, so yeah, you slide it up. Most BlackBerries were like candy bar-ish, I guess. Like, they don't slide, they don't flip or do anything. Most BlackBerries were. BlackBerry Pearl, I think some of them did flip. But anyways, the BlackBerry Torch was the slider BlackBerry. They made 2 of them, I think. I think this is the original BlackBerry Torch. But yeah, classic BlackBerry keyboard right here, and BlackBerry OS. So yeah, I think I had this just because it was like basically just the slider BlackBerry from the classic period of BlackBerry, which was like the mid 2000s essentially. Yeah, or mid to late 2000s. Yeah, mid to late 2000s was when BlackBerry was kind of peak. and then quickly declined after that, I would say, just like with Nokia. I don't think I need to keep this because I already have the BlackBerry Passport, which I said, I think to me that was the last real BlackBerry was the BlackBerry Passport. So I don't need to have this. I mean, it does run an older version of BlackBerry OS 7, I think. But yeah, don't need to. It's just like a slider BlackBerry. Classic BlackBerry looking device. But yeah, I don't need to have it. If anything, the bold would have been that would have been the real BlackBerry. I forgot to talk about the I/O of the BlackBerry Torch. So yeah, like I said, classic BlackBerry keyboard. This is the one that everyone's familiar with, the one that everyone remembers fondly. The people who are BlackBerry fans, of course. And they changed it with the Passport, so I think that kind of turned some fans off. But this is the classic BlackBerry keyboard here, like kind of like, you know, nice smiley curve, I guess is how it's done. Yeah, classic keys, and then you have the, of course, classic interface here for BlackBerry, the call, the hang up, the BlackBerry button, back, and the little navigation center right here, which used to be a trackball, but it is not a trackball on the newer BlackBerries. It's like an optical cursor instead. Micro USB, removable battery in the back, and camera. Of course, BlackBerry cameras were never that great. They were mostly business machines, not for multimedia or anything. Headphone jack right here, volume buttons, a camera shutter button. Actually, they have this as well. A lot of phones had them back then. And interestingly, they even have two top buttons here, a mute button and a lock button. And yeah, you can't hear, well, you can't see that clearly, right? But yeah, these are actually buttons that are depressible. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyways, BlackBerry Torch, the original Torch. I know they made a second one as well. Okay, Motorola V70. This one from 2002, I think. Yeah, it's quite one of my earliest phones, actually. Very unique looking device. I mean, you can tell how many crazy designs were in the 2000s, right? So this one has a swivel cover. Let's do it. Swivel up like that. Okay, so this is how that works. That's really the only reason I have it, is because of the cool form factor. Motorola revisited this form factor with the Aura, and that came out in 2008. That was a very luxury device though, very hard to get. Very expensive actually. So anyways, the V70 just has this kind of cool slider cover right here. Antennas, because this is early 2000s. I mean, yeah, you go back and then you see like cell phones with these antennas, external ones. But yeah, otherwise you have the buttons, I think, for calling right here. And the thing about these older phones is that they last a really long time, actually. They're really durable, and they have removable batteries and proprietary chargers. So that's the thing about these older ones. But yeah, I guess whenever you took a call back then, you would have to like slide it up and then take a call like that. So anyway, still kind of interesting design to have. But for me, it's not enough. Just having this design is not really that interesting or unique, other than the little sliding cover design. Yeah, so anyways, this one going to the 2-cell. Okay, now this one is actually pretty interesting too, the Nokia N-Gage. So Nokia made a lot of really cool devices in 2000s, including this gaming phone, really. So this phone played proprietary games. They're called N-Gage games. I think it even had the cartridge. Okay, you had to open up the back cover in order to put the cartridge in. Yeah. The QD version, which is the successor, you didn't have to do that. But the first version, which I think is the more iconic looking version because it's called the taco phone, right? It's shaped like a taco. The original version is more iconic. And yeah, this one, in this version, you had to open up the back cover just to put another cartridge in. Just kind of annoying. But yeah, otherwise there's a D-pad right here. Your phone pad was right here. And yeah, you had some shortcuts here. And then you had the Nokia hang up and dial buttons, charger right here. Yeah, otherwise, oh, actually power buttons was on the side here as well. Otherwise, this is a pretty interesting device. It's iconic in some way. It's like in a failed way, you know. It's one of those devices that Nokia like never really took off, didn't really compete with Game Boy Advance or PSP or anything. Oh, headphone jack right here as well. Actually, no, the headphone jack was right here. So this was actually some other kind of connector down here. I'm not sure what that was. But it's still kind of an iconic Nokia phone in many ways, because like many people still remember the N-Gage as being kind of ahead of its time. So yeah, nowadays, right, a lot of people use smartphones for gaming, but this was back in the day when phones didn't really play many games. They only had Java games, these simple little Java games like Snake that you played on your phone. That's what phones had back then. So very simple games, and the N-Gage really kind of took gaming to the next level on mobile phones. And really, you wouldn't see games like this again until the iPhone came out, really. So it's like, yeah, I would say the N-Gage was the best gaming experience on a phone until like iPhones and Android phones started coming out. So I think this is historically important. I will keep it, the N-Gage. Okay, okay, 8 more devices. This, yeah, I think I have to keep this one, the Sony Vaio UX. 2006, it was considered to be probably the best UMPC of its time, ultra mobile PC. So I collect UMPCs, like these really ultra portable computers, and the Vaio UX was really one of the best because it really had a pretty decent processor for a UMPC at the time. It had an Intel Core Solo. This was better than a lot of the processors in UMPCs at the time, so it was reasonably fast for what it was. And 1 gig of memory, I think, is what it had, which is pretty good actually for the time as well. It's just a really cool looking device, right? It's a slider. It slides up and you have a flat style QWERTY keyboard, which wasn't very good, but I mean, just the fact that it had this design is cool. This is a design that only the Onkyo Model 2 had, I think, aside from that. Or the Onkyo Model 1 and 2, I should say. And later, like I would say 15 years later, GPD copied this design. Well, actually used this design. I shouldn't say copied. They used this design to create the GPD Win 3 and GPD Win 4, which I also have. So anyways, really cool design to have this slider design, have the display slide up, and then you have the QWERTY keyboard. I like that, even though the keyboard isn't that good. Power switch right here, zoom in and out. You have an optical, no, not optical, just kind of like a ThinkPad style nub right here for moving the cursor. This was a touchscreen as well, had a webcam, fingerprint sensor right here. It was pretty advanced for the time. Left and right click buttons, wireless switch right here. You had a kind of like a modem antenna right here that you can, because it supported wireless WAN, so you can use this with a modem card. So you had an antenna there. USB slot right here, which is cool to have on something like this. Stylus. It has a resistive touchscreen, so yeah, having stylus there. Removable battery, and also a camera shutter button, because it does have a camera on the back as well. So the camera, actually, if you slide up, yeah, if you slide up, you can see the camera there on the back. So there has a front-facing camera as well as a back-facing camera and a camera shutter button. Really cool. Memory stick dual slot right there. DC input, docking connector, and headphone jack and microphone. This thing did a lot. I just gotta say, this thing does a lot for its size. And it was actually one of the best performing UMPCs of its time. So in addition to that, I have the 007 edition, James Bond edition, which there's only 500 ever made. So pretty rare, James Bond edition is at least, and historically very interesting. So I'm gonna keep this one. It's one of my favorite UMPCs. Probably my favorite actually from that era. From the first generation of UMPCs, that was my favorite. Okay, Pebble Time Steel. Okay, this is probably one of the last Pebble smartwatches, and Pebble is historically important because they were the first company to make a successful smartwatch. Really kind of started smartwatches as a whole entire category. I mean, before any other smartwatch really found success, Pebble was the first successful one. After Pebble succeeded, of course, Apple Watch got in on the craze a few years later. So I could say this, Pebble's no longer a company. They failed really kind of just because they couldn't compete, right? But I would say that Pebble crawled so that Apple could run with its smartwatch. So, and nowadays everyone has the Apple Watch, right? But the Pebble Time Steel came out in 2015, really one of the last Pebble watches, and I was a Kickstarter backer, actually. I have a Kickstarter backer special edition here, and this one had color, supported color. The original Pebble watches didn't have color, but this one did, and really built well. I do like the aluminum form factor, and the square design was really the main design for smartwatches back then. Nowadays, if you get a smartwatch that's not Apple Watch, it will be like a round design, like the Galaxy watches, but yeah, what can I say? It's historically interesting to have a Pebble watch because they really kind of started smartwatches as a category. And this was one of the best ones, really. One of the last and best Pebble watches, the Pebble Time Steel. So I'm keeping this one as well. Okay, so 7 more. Okay, now, talking about smartwatches, this was probably one of the first. Not successful, but it wasn't as successful as Pebble was, but it was one of the first. This is a Fossil Abacus. Yes, from the watch company Fossil. It came out back in 2003, and it ran Palm OS. That's right, it actually ran a PDA operating system. So it had some buttons here on the side, and a little switch here. This is actually for navigation. A little switch here on the side. You can press in as well. And side here, another button. So you got 2 buttons and a switch here on the side that you can also press in, and there's like another button, and then you have a port that's actually, I think, mini. Yeah, this is a mini USB port right here. So yeah, this was ahead of its time. Yeah, so this thing was powered by Palm OS, a PDA smartwatch back in 2003. That was really ahead of its time. Historically, it's innovative, but not quite as important as the Pebble. So I think I'm going to put this to sell because it's not as important as the Pebble, but it's just historically kind of interesting. Samsung Exclaim. Yeah, this is I mean, it looks just like a regular Samsung phone, right, of its time. This is like, what, 2009, 2010? Yeah, Samsung Exclaim. It just looks like a regular Samsung phone, but the reason I have it is because, well, it's a slider. And you might say, well, that's not that special, right? There's a lot of Samsung sliders, and, you know, nothing special about just a regular slider phone, right? Well, here's the other thing. It slides the other way as well. So you have sliding this way, which is vertically, and then you have sliding horizontally as well. So it's a dual slider design, so it's sliding vertically for the numpad, and then also sliding horizontally for the QWERTY keyboard. So I think that's the only reason I have it, but historically not interesting anyway. Just it has a dual slider design, which I found kind of neat, right? Slide up, and then slide to the side. Yeah, so I just found that design kind of neat, and it's still like not that thick, even though it's like dual sliders inside of it. So anyways, otherwise the phone itself is not that special, just a standard Samsung phone with Sprint. Actually, just the fact that it slides 2 ways is what makes it interesting. Anyways, not interesting enough for me to keep them. Okay, now this one I think I might keep. It's the Sony Ericsson Xperia Play. Came out 2011, so it looks like a typical 2011 smartphone, right? You know, it's typical Android phones back then with the buttons. Yes, that's right. These days you don't have buttons on phones much anymore, right? Back then you actually had physical buttons even on Android phones back then. But yeah, you had your home button and back buttons and stuff right there. But you might also notice something interesting. So on the top here there's trigger buttons, right? Trigger buttons, and then you also have volume rocker. So the trigger buttons, headphone jack back then, it's 2011, and micro USB. So that's because this phone isn't just a phone, but it's actually a gaming handheld. That's right. So it's got PSP type controls right here, kind of like the PSP Go. So it's pretty much like a PSP. So it's got the face buttons here, D-pad. It's got touch controls here. It's kind of a touch strip. And select and start. So this was called the PlayStation phone, the Xperia Play. And yeah, that makes this phone very interesting and unique because not only is it a normal phone, but it's also great for emulation as well. So just like with the PSP Go, you can play emulation games on it. And I think this might be preferable to the PSP Go because, well, it's a bit more powerful, and it's also a phone as well, so you can use it as, you know, Android phone instead of just playing games and stuff on it. So you can do both. You put your emulation, your ROMs and stuff on it to play games like that, and I think it's okay for that, even though the controls are still not that great. Touch controls are interesting. It doesn't really have analog controls in a sense, so that's one thing against it. But I think this is interesting to keep because, so that people know, at one point, yes, Sony did make a PlayStation phone, or a PSP phone, I should say. It's like a combination of a PSP and a phone. So pretty cool, interesting enough to keep. Okay. So let's see. Pebble Time and Sony Vaio. Okay. So 6 more. Oh man, this is another one I might keep too. Probably I will have to. The Nokia N95. What can I say? This is probably considered the best Nokia phone in terms of... if you were to pick one iconic Nokia phone, I think this would be one of them. Because I remember this was very expensive at the time, and it was considered superior to the iPhone when it came out, even though this was not a full touchscreen device. Just because this had so much going for it in 2007. Really 2007 Nokia was peak Nokia, and the N95, I mean, okay, first, yeah, you do have the standard controls, right? Nokia controls here, calling, you know, pick up, everything, and navigation, power button right here, webcam right here, headphone jack, mini USB support, camera shutter button, volume, and you had a Carl Zeiss 5 megapixel Carl Zeiss autofocus lens right here, which is very good for the time. This might have been the best phone camera in 2007. Much better than the iPhone. People forget the iPhone camera wasn't very good when it came out. It was like a 2 megapixel fixed focus, couldn't take video. Okay, and then you slide it up and you get the standard Nokia numpad right here when you slide it up. You can also slide it this way and you get the media controls. So this is for media playback. So you have to just slide it the other way. So it's a dual slider, sliding one way for the numpad and then sliding down for media controls. So yeah, overall just a very good phone when it came out. I really wanted this phone, but I couldn't afford it at the time. Yeah, it's considered an iconic Nokia phone just because it represented the peak of Nokia's innovation and really when Nokia was on top of the world back in 2007. I mean, this was a better phone than the iPhone at the time. I don't care that the iPhone had multi-touch. This was just, it was more powerful. It had a better camera, media player controls and everything. It could play more formats. I mean, I remember iPhone when it came out, it didn't really even have copy and paste functionality. Like there's a lot of things missing from the iPhone at the time. And Nokia had all of it, so really represents the peak of Nokia. I had to keep this one. I think it's an iconic Nokia phone, the N95. Yeah. So yeah, those of you guys like looking for one Nokia, most iconic Nokia device, I think the N95 has to be one of the contenders, one of the most iconic Nokia phones. We got 5 more. Man, another iconic Nokia phone, the N900. Okay, so this one maybe not quite as much as the N95, but still I consider this a great Nokia phone, the N900. It was considered the successor to the N97, which was also a good phone, but also to the N810 internet tablet as well. It's considered a successor to both. So yeah, it ran Maimo, which is the same operating system as the N810, but of course it's also a phone, not just a tablet. Had the Carl Zeiss lens. So these days Sony collaborates with Carl Zeiss, but back then it was Nokia that was using Carl Zeiss. And yeah, it's a headphone jack, and this is a stylus. That's right, you also have a stylus as well, because I don't think the touchscreen is not capacitive, it's a resistive touchscreen. And yeah, power button, camera, shutter button right here, which a lot of phones had back then, volume controls, and you have the slider. So slide up keyboard, and you get the QWERTY keyboard right here. So overall, I think this is also a really iconic Nokia phone. Yeah, it's not as much as the N95, but it's still like one of those Nokia devices that's like really a milestone for the company. And this came out, what, 2009, I think? So still when Nokia was really on top. And yeah, it ran Maimo, which is a nice little operating system. I think if I wanted to have a nice diverse lineup of items with different operating systems, yeah, Maimo is another addition. So another device I think I might have to keep. The N900, okay, this is also a really good device, so, right, 4 more. Okay, the LG Envtouch. This is basically LG's take on the Nokia communicator. So, when did this come out? 2010 or something? 2009? But yeah, it's just regularly, it looks like an LG phone, right? Call and hang up, looks like an LG phone. Here, normal, nothing special from this side. Micro SD, headphone jack, camera shutter button. Like I said, a lot of phones had them back then. Volume controls, kind of like a special button that you can program here. Okay, but then there's the communicator side of it, right? It's basically LG's take on the Nokia communicator, so you can kind of flip it open and there it is. There's the QWERTY keyboard. Yeah, it's just like the Toshiba Portage and the Nokia E90, right, in that sense. So you have QWERTY keyboard, navigation buttons, you can do PDA stuff here. But honestly, not that special because, yeah, unlike the Nokia communicator, it's not as iconic. And unlike even the Toshiba had more interesting things going on. So it's just really not that interesting for me. It's just like a copy of a Nokia communicator, basically. It's just LG's take, but otherwise nothing that interesting. So going to sell. Okay, oh man, this is another one I might keep. The Microsoft Zune HD. So this was, of course, competing with Apple's iPod and failed. It's considered a famous failed device, the Microsoft Zune. And the Zune, there's only two of them, I think. The Zune and the Zune HD. This is the Zune HD. It's a smaller one, meant to compete with iPod Nano. And I think it actually had an OLED display, really cool for the time. And it ran kind of its own UI, Metro UI, which they also used later in Windows Phone. Yeah, this is a cool device, built pretty well. And it's actually a nice device. People talk about Zune as if it's a failure because it didn't compete with the iPod. Well, nothing did, right? Nobody could really dethrone Apple. That doesn't really make it a bad device, though. It's actually a nice device to use. This one had flash storage. The original Zune had the rotating hard drives. So this one doesn't store quite as many songs, but it's more snappy. So you got volume controls right here. I like how this one says hello from Seattle on the side there. I don't know if you guys can see that. It says hello from Seattle. That's cool. Proprietary charger. That's just what it was back then. Headphone jack. Yeah. What can I say? I like the Microsoft Zune HD. I think if you were to pick one Zune device, this is the better device compared to the original Zune, and it represents, well, probably Apple's most famous competition. Even though I think Creative made the best competition to Apple back then, but Zune was probably the more famous one because it's Microsoft, right? And it famously could not compete with Apple, so it failed. So anyways, I'll keep that one historically very interesting. And also pretty good device. Alright, so the Creative versus the Zune. I think I have to choose between one of these as well. And this one is a pretty tough choice too because both of these are pretty famous competitors to the iPod. I would say the Creative Zen is the more successful one. They definitely sold quite a few of these, even though it wasn't as successful as iPod, obviously, but they still sold quite a few of these. The Zune sold as well, just not that well. I would say in terms of sales, yeah, the Creative Zen definitely sold more than the Zune did. But when it comes to which one is the more iconic competitor, probably the Zune is more well remembered, I would say. Even though it's considered a failure, it's actually more well remembered than the Creative Zen. I don't hear a lot of people talk about the Creative Zen anymore, even though it was kind of successful for the time. I think after, so you have iPod and you have everyone else, right, competing for the rest. So like the iPod took the lion's share, and then all the other companies competed for the other market share of MP3 players, right? Creative is probably the top among the other ones, and then iRiver, and then you had Arcos, and Zune, and Cowon. You had a few other ones, right? I know SanDisk actually made one as well. There were a bunch of other MP3 player companies at the time. I think Creative was probably the most popular among the other ones. But yeah, Zune is, for some reason, more well remembered, even though it's kind of a failure. I think probably just because it's Microsoft. And Microsoft, you know, versus Apple, that's what everyone wants to talk about, Microsoft versus Apple. So I think they remember the Zune more, even though it wasn't as successful. And Creative, for some reason, is not remembered as much, even though they were actually more successful during that time. Both of these have proprietary connectors. That's just how it was back then for phones and laptops. Pretty much everything back then had proprietary connectors. So be glad that we live in an age where USB-C is pretty much the standard now. But back then, everything had their own connectors. I actually found the docking cradle for my Zen. So this is the docking cradle for it. You need to buy a separate cable for the AV out, so you can actually connect it to your TV with the AV out, but you need to buy a special cable for that. Then the charger, and then you have a mini USB input as well to connect to the computer. But yeah, it just docks in like this. So you would have it in the dock, and then it will just sync with your computer. And this is really how a lot of devices worked back then. iPod had its own cradle, Palm Pilots had their own cradle, Pocket PCs had their own cradle. Everything just kind of worked like that back then. So yeah, anyways, Picking one out of these two is going to be hard. Should I pick the more successful one, or this one actually have more sentimental value as well, since I actually used it back in the day, or should I pick the more iconic one, you know? This is the more iconic competitor, the MS Zoom, and this is the more popular one, the Creative Zen. I'll have to figure out, pick one of these for my collection. Yeah, the iPod competitor, you know. For the time, just people never, like, you know, you can't compete with Apple. They're just too hard to compete with. Okay, now this one is also interesting. The BlackBerry Porsche Design P9981. It's a special edition of the BlackBerry Bold. So, yeah, this one came out, I think, 2011. It was like 1 year after the Bold, because it's Porsche Design's take on it. And it's a limited edition, so it's kind of hard to find. Really kind of representing the peak of BlackBerry. Yeah, when people thought Blackberries were luxury items, actually, because if you're catering to business people, you have money, then yeah, why not? You get the Porsche Design branded version. And Porsche Design made 3 different versions of Blackberries. This is the first one. I think it's still the most iconic one. Like, out of the 3, I like the design of the first one the best. They're all limited edition, but the second and third versions I think were not quite as interesting or unique as the first version. So this is the first version based on the BlackBerry Bold. I believe the second version, third versions, they were based on the newer Blackberries and stuff, which, yeah, not as interesting to me. Yeah, you get standard BlackBerry call, hang up, BlackBerry button right here. The optical navigation is replaced by this button right here in the back. Headphone jack right here, micro USB. It's got a nice leather back right here. That's part of the reason why it's like a little bit more premium. Kind of magnetic docking connectors down there, power button here, and volume switch right here, camera button right here, shutter button. Yeah, overall, this is a really cool device. It's unique because it's actually limited edition. It's by Porsche Design, so it's kind of like a luxury take on the BlackBerry Bold P9981. Yeah, so that's yeah, it's a take on the BlackBerry Bold 9800, I think. It's just their version of it. So anyways, I'm not sure if I should keep this one though, because I think this one is something that really should go to collectors, just with the Onkyo DX. Really think that someone should be displaying this one in some sort of museum or collection, that not just in a box, right? But yeah, in terms of iconic Blackberries, the BlackBerry Bold represents BlackBerry at its peak. And the Porsche Design version really is just the best version of it, the luxury version, the one that has the best specs. So, not sure. Man, I don't have too many more. I already... Yeah, the thing is, I don't want to keep too many of these devices, because I told myself I would limit it to just 25. So, I don't know. This one will go in my maybe column, because technically I already have the Passport, and the Passport actually represents the end of really BlackBerry's lineup for BlackBerry OS. This one's still using BlackBerry OS 7, which is the older version, but also represented BlackBerry at its peak. So anyways, I had to decide either this one or the BlackBerry Passport Silver Edition. I think they're both very premium looking devices. This one represents the newer, more modern BlackBerry, but kind of at the end of its life. And this one represents BlackBerry at its peak, and also the more limited version. So tough to decide. I'll put this one as a maybe. I'll have to think about it. Either that one or the BlackBerry Passport. I had to keep one of them. I mean, just to have one BlackBerry in my collection, right? Which would it be? The luxury version of the Bold or the Passport? So yeah, I'll have to decide between these two. Either the BlackBerry Passport Silver Edition, because this kind of represents BlackBerry basically at the end, but it's really one of their last devices that's kind of unique and ran BlackBerry OS 10, or the BlackBerry Porsche Design P9981, which is really the luxury version of the BlackBerry Bold, which represents BlackBerry when they're at their peak. So both of these are kind of interesting, collectible in their own way. So I'm not sure, I'll have to pick one. This was definitely more rare though. This is actually a limited edition. So maybe leaning towards the BlackBerry Porsche Design, but yeah, anyways, I'll have to pick one of these two. But I also like BlackBerry OS 10, and the Passport is also pretty unique in its own way too. So if I would just pick one, it's gonna be tough to pick between these two. So I have to think about it. I'll put this one in the maybe column, and then I'll think about which one I should keep. Okay, so I'm going to change my rule a little bit. Out of all these retro electronic devices that I have, I'm going to say that the ones that are a decade or newer are not technically retro. Like if they're from 2015 or newer, then it doesn't count. Basically, I'm just giving this my own self-imposed rule here, changing it up a bit. So the only devices that count from my list, I'm going to keep 25 out of these electronic devices, are going to be 25 devices that were released before 2015. So those are what I consider to be retro, is before 2015. So the 2015 devices like the BlackBerry Passport and the Pebble Time Steel and HP Elite X3, those don't count. I know it's kind of a, not really cheating, but it's just, you know, my arbitrary definition of what makes a device retro, right? Is like a decade or older. Anyways, using that rule, I now have 5 more devices for my collection to keep, and the rest I have to get rid of, according to my own rule. So yeah, let's go. And I got 3 boxes left to look at. Alright, so this box, actually there's not too much in this box, just some watches. So this is the Apple Watch Series 3, which was released in 2017. I have this because it's an Apple Watch. I don't really use Apple Watch actually, but it runs watchOS, which is Apple's, yeah, it's basically iOS, but for watches. It's their own operating system. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Apple Watch is, right? It's like the most common smartwatch. Everyone has them basically. Well, everyone who has an iPhone seemingly has an Apple Watch as well. So yeah, this is the Series 3, which is actually, I would say the Series 3 still is usable today, right? The Series 1 and 2 not so much, they're kind of dated, but Series 3 I think is still very usable today, and it's got that, I guess now everyone knows the form factor of the Apple Watch. It's got the squarish form factor. But by the way, I think they're one of the only smartwatches left on the market with this kind of form factor. It used to be the main form factor of smartwatches, like the Pebble and everything used it, was the square form factor. Now everything is just the round form factor, which is more traditional for watches, except for Apple Watch, which still keeps the square form factor. And of course the crown, right? The Apple Watch crown, that was really just a nice little navigation device that Apple talks about a lot when they released the Apple Watch. They call this interface that the same level as the iPod click wheel, which is kind of crazy. I don't think this little crown is as, you know, revolutionary as the click wheel, but whatever, that's what they say. Anyways, I'm not going to keep this. Whoops, I'm not going to keep this because I don't use it, and honestly, it's not unique enough for my collection. I know Apple Watch is the most popular smartwatch, but to me, the Pebble Time is more interesting than the Apple Watch is, so I don't need that. Okay. Motorola Moto 360. Technically this is a new device. This came out, this is the 3rd generation Moto 360. This came out in 2020. So the first and second generations I think were like 2014, 2015. I actually had the original Motorola 360. It's a round smartwatch, and it was actually the first one to be round. I remember the first generation had this little flat tire type of thing at the bottom here for the sensor. This, of course, is the 3rd generation. It doesn't have that anymore. But yeah, has this little has a little crown as well. So these days, actually, a lot of smartwatches don't even have crowns anymore. So it's interesting to have one like this. So except for Apple Watch, but Moto 360 is one of the few that does have this crown here. I know the Galaxy watches don't have them, and the Fossil smartwatches don't have them either. Yeah, it's got 2 buttons. This is the dedicated button for whatever activity special app that you're using. I think it just brings up a special app that you program, and then this is the crown to navigate. You can press that in as well. Yeah, overall, Moto 360, yeah, the first one was the very first smartwatch with a round design. That's more traditional. At the time, all the smartwatches were squarish designs like the Apple Watch. So yeah. Anyways, this one doesn't count for my collection because it's a new device, not a retro device. Okay, in this one, I don't know why this is in here as well. Maybe because I don't really use it, but it's a Nixoid watch. It's from Nixoid. So it's from one of the stores that makes Nixoid clocks. And Nixoid are like these really old vintage looking retro tubes, and people use them now for clocks and displays and watches. And I got this one from Nixoid. This one is actually technically not a Nixoid watch. It's a VFD technology, so it's a little bit different than Nixoid. It uses VFD technology. I don't really use it. I think I got it because it was cool looking, and it looks like something you might find in like Fallout, the video game series, right? Looks like something you might find in that universe, right? It's very retro, futuristic looking. Yeah, it just looks cool, that's it. But I would never wear it, because this is what it looks like when you wear it. Like this. Like, who's gonna wear a gigantic watch on your wrist like that, right? This just looks ridiculous. So I never really wear it. It's mostly just for display. So I'll probably just sell it. I mean, honestly, there's no reason why I have this watch. I don't use it. It just looks cool, right? That's about it. But yeah, that's really it. It just kind of looks cool. But I don't ever wear it because it's not practical. So yeah, you can of course use it to tell the time, but like to have such a huge thing, massive thing on my wrist, no thanks. Anyways, it's kind of a modern device too. I got this a few years ago, so also doesn't really. So another interesting thing about the Nixoid watch is that it's rechargeable. So yeah, I don't know how well you guys can see, but on the back here there's actually a micro USB port, and yeah, you can recharge the batteries on it. So it's not one of those watches where you swap out the watch batteries and then you put in new ones. No, this one you just straight up just recharge it with a micro USB. That's interesting. And one button on the side, you just press it once to show the time, and then you can hold it to kind of reset things and set the time. It's just one button to do everything on this one. So yeah, anyways, kind of a unique modern feature for a watch that looks so retro and vintage, right? Having a rechargeable battery. That's pretty interesting. Okay, next box. This one's pretty heavy. Okay, this one has some UMPCs in it, that's why. Okay, the Samsung Q1. So yeah, this device is a first generation UMPC from 2006, 2007, I think. So really competed with the Sony Vaio UX. What makes this one unique is, well, first of all, like I bet not many people knew that Samsung made a device like this, but it's essentially a tablet that runs Windows XP on it, and also has this unique split keyboard. So you guys can see the keyboard is split like this. So that's pretty interesting. The only other tablet or computer I know that has this design is the Pepperpad, which is from Korea. Also very rare, that I had before. But yeah, very rare looking device. Actually, it's not as rare as some of my other computers, but still, like this is an old device, and not many people bought it. Yeah, so it's got, I think this is not a touch display. Otherwise, it would have a style. No, it is a touch display. Okay, because I do see there's a stylus holder here. I just don't have the stylus. Okay, the stylus must have fell out. Yeah, so there is a stylus here, which means that this is a resistive touchscreen. And you got some touch controls for the volume up here. They didn't use physical controls for the volume. They had touch controls for the volume. Interesting, in the menu. But yeah, split keyboard right here. So you would just like use it like this, right? Split keyboard. Little mouse cursor is on this side. Pretty interesting, because most computers would have it on this side for right-handed people. Most people are right-handed, right? So this is interesting. The cursor is actually on this side. And navigation buttons here, and left and right click mouse buttons are actually on this side too. So it's an interesting design. Fingerprint sensor as well. And then you have power switch right here. VGA port. I think there's a flap here it's missing, but the VGA port, full-size Ethernet is here, which is cool. DC, USB, and removable battery, of course. Back then you had that. A camera on the back as well, and a kickstand that I can use to flip, so you can kind of position it like this, to watch something. So anyways, very cool design. I think if I'm going to be having some UMPCs in my collection, which I should, this represents a different kind of design from my Vaio UX. So my Vaio UX is the small little sliding form factor. It's a 5-inch display. This is a 7-inch display that's, yeah, kind of a tablet style form factor with a split keyboard. So I think I'll keep it just for the more variety. Let's just have a bit more variety in my UMPCs. So the design is a bit unique there. Okay, so next up is something that's somewhat of a cult classic, the Sony Vaio P series, which is a series of netbooks. And out of all the netbooks that were released, the Vaio P series is still, I think, yeah, it's still got a fan base because it just looks really nice. I mean, it looks premium even though it's like still made of plastic and everything, but it looks more premium than it actually is, I think. Yeah, well, I remember when this first came out in 2009. I was in university, and I had a netbook at the time. I had the Asus EEE PC. You know, Asus is really the company that made netbooks popular with the EEE PCs. And I remember seeing the Vaio P come out. They were marketing this as a fashion accessory. You know, like women would put this in their purses and handbags and stuff. And I just thought it was really cool. Right? It's not a typical netbook. It's actually like smaller than a typical netbook, of course. So this is like a sub notebook. And yeah, it does look really nice. Sony's Vaio designs are always really nice looking. Removable battery on the back, as all laptops had back then. USB here, a extension port connector. I think the Fujitsu connector actually works with that too. DC input, another USB headphone jack, and on the front here you have both SD card slot and a memory stick card slot right here. You got both of them, which is nice to have dual support for that, and a power slider switch right there. And yeah, let's open it up, take a look. Sony Vaio P. It looks really nice. As far as netbooks go, this is one of the most fashionable and best looking netbooks of its era. I can see why it has a kind of a cult following because, well, it just looks really nice, right? And it's got the little numpad, trackpad here, sorry, track point. This is the same nub that ThinkPads would use. This track point nub right here, and left and right click right here. You would have to do this without the trackpad because I think because of the size, they don't have room for the trackpad, so they use the nub instead. You do have some zoom in buttons here because, believe it or not, this was pretty high resolution when it came out. I think this was like 1600 by 900, which is a pretty high resolution for the time. 2009, I mean, this was like higher than 720p for 2009. That was really good. So it's actually reasonably high resolution. I've got a selfie camera right here, motion eye. So yeah, overall, it's a really nice looking netbook. Let's see, historically, I think the Asus EE PC is more historically important for actually spurring the revolution in netbooks, but the Vaio P might be like the most luxurious looking one. I know, it looks almost like a fashion accessory. So it's pretty nice looking. But again, I don't know. For my collection, should I keep something like this? This is like one of those maybes, I think. Yeah. I'm not sure. Like, you can't find these. They're not like super rare or something. You can definitely find them online. This white version is pretty nice, very clean looking. There's all sorts of different colors because they were marketed more like a fashion netbook. They're pretty cool, and they run Intel Atom, so not really performant, but all the netbooks back then kind of had the same processor, so yeah. I'll have to say this one is a maybe. I really do like the appearance of it, even though it's like really not powerful by, even for the day, netbooks are really slow even for the day, so it's not like you would use it today, but just like how it looks. But I do have a lot of modern netbooks already, so it's like, yeah, not sure how exactly collectible this would be, because it's not super rare, and it's not really unique or interesting either. It's just kind of nice looking, just a nice looking netbook. So this one is like a maybe, I guess. Definitely not as unique as my Onkyo DX, that's for sure. That's like one of those unique computers ever. Okay, now I have one of the rarest computers in my collection. It's the Open Pandora. So this is an open source Linux gaming handheld that came out in 2012. And these were all handmade. They were not mass produced. They were all just handmade by like I think it was it was one or two guys actually that had this company. And yeah, really it's just a very small company, and they all made these cases themselves, and really it's kind of like a hand-built thing. So this is definitely very rare. Very hard to find. Even for the time, I bought this in 2015. It was still hard to find even back then. So I think now it's be pretty hard to find. I even have the original carrying case, the Open Pandora carrying case. The successor console, the Dragon Box Pyra, I backed that many years ago. I think like 2016 I backed it. I don't know if they're making it still, but that ran into issues, and I still don't know if they came out with that one. But there's supposed to be a successor to this Open Pandora console, but not sure what's going on with that, the Dragon Box Pyra. But here's what the deal with this one, okay? So let me just show you guys. First of all, it's extremely light and portable. You guys can see how small it is. And USB port at the back, charger. You got mini HDMI, I think, and this is a mini USB as well. You can see the back here. Front, you got dual SD card slot. The reason is because it actually doesn't have its own built-in storage. It uses one of these as the main storage, which is for the operating system, and the other one is for expandable storage. So yeah, it technically doesn't really have its own hard drive. It just uses the SD card. Headphone jack, and this is the, actually, we have a volume slider right here and a power switch right here, and a removable battery at the bottom here. And you got some trigger controls, left and right trigger controls. That's because this is also a gaming handheld, not just a computer. So I'll show you guys. Lift up. So what it looks like. So it's both a computer and a gaming handheld. So you can see the QWERTY keyboard here, which is not very good. It's using very mushy type keys, but I mean, for the size, it is what it is. I mean, just you always got to make compromises in this kind of small size. Both GPD devices are way better at this compared to back then. Yep, a full line of function keys right there. So yeah, this is a 5-inch display. And then the D-pad, not good, pretty mushy. Face buttons are just eh. And the analog sticks don't have, they don't have stems. So the analog sticks are just kind of like the PSP analog sticks, you know. They don't have stems, so it's not very good either. But hey, it is a very rare device. In terms of the performance, it's not that great. Actually, any of the emulator devices today, even the Ambernic, which you can get for like 60 bucks, can beat it. So really, originally it was meant for retro emulation for games and stuff, but yeah, I think at the time it was considered very, very interesting because there weren't that many handhelds at the time for retro game emulation. There's like the GCW0, the Dingu, not really too much else. Just the Open Pandora is one of the few back then, and this was the only one out of those devices that actually was a full-fledged computer. It ran Linux, full-fledged Linux, and you have a QWERTY keyboard. So it was a full-fledged computer, and on top of that, it has gaming controls, right, and the trigger switches here. But I'm a bit torn about this one. I do think this one could go to a better collector than me, because I personally, yeah, I don't think this is like, in terms of actually being a gaming handheld, it's not very good. Any of today's retro, like any of the GPD devices today or Ambernic devices today, AN Neo, any of those could just easily beat this one. Retroid, right? Any of those companies can just make a device much cheaper that can easily beat it in terms of performance for emulation. Just this one runs full-blown Linux and is also a computer as well, which is cool. But yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, it is very rare and kind of unique for the time, right? Very rare and unique for the time. For what it's supposed to do, it's not that good actually. So yeah, any of the emulator handhelds now would probably beat it. So I'm not sure. I'm torn about this one as well. I think this one will go in the maybe category because on one hand it is very rare, and it's unique for the time. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, even for the time, I mean, it's hard to say if it was really performant for the time because like I'll show you just a year later. So this one go in the maybe. Just a year later, we have the NVIDIA Shield Portable, which is more performant than the Open Pandora is. So NVIDIA Shield Portable looks like a gaming controller. It is a gaming controller with a display attached to it that runs Android. So it really lifts up like this. So yeah, made by NVIDIA. Of course, everyone should know NVIDIA by now. Runs on an NVIDIA Tegra processor. Controls and everything, really nice. Got a mini HDMI, micro SD, chargers with micro USB, headphone jack on there. And once you open up, it's a 5-inch display. And the controls are still some of the best I've seen on any emulator type handheld. So like, these are amazing controls. And this is the first Shield that NVIDIA made. They didn't come back to this design, unfortunately. I wish they did, but they just made the NVIDIA Shield tablet. They made the NVIDIA Shield like set-top box, which is what I have, basically competing with like Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV and stuff, Roku. Like, I wish they came back to this kind of design because they really like, man, these controllers are really nice, right? The analog sticks, D-pad, face buttons, nice and big, easy to hit. The speakers are actually pretty good for what it was. You know, the NVIDIA logo right here, volume up and down. Overall, it was a really good device. I mean, it still is today. Even if you want to play some nice emulator games today, even like say like compared to my Razer Edge or the Ambernic, devices that I have, this is still pretty performant. And this came from 2013. So yeah, I have to give NVIDIA props for that, for making such a great handheld. And this was the first one that they made. Nice trigger buttons too, and shoulder buttons. In terms of performance, this came out 2013, just 1 year after the Pandora. This is like, okay, the Pandora came out 2012, NVIDIA Shield came out 2013, right? Just 1 year later, this thing beats the pants off of the Pandora in terms of performance. This is like way better. Controls are way better. Emulation quality, you have full Android support, right? So yeah, it's hard for me to say that this is a great handheld when the NVIDIA Shield came out just 1 year later and kind of blew the pants off this one. But this one is a full Linux computer with a QWERTY keyboard, and it's more rare, so I don't know. It's like, which one should I keep? The NVIDIA Shield Portable is not as rare, but it's just better at what it's supposed to do. I know this is more dedicated. It's not a full-blown Linux computer, but this is just better for what it's supposed to do, right? For gaming, retro handheld emulation, it's just better. The Open Pandora is just kind of a niche device. It's more rare, but it's not as good at what it's supposed to do. I guess you can just use it as a Linux computer, so that's really cool, but yeah, I had to choose between one of these two. It's like, do I want just the device? This one is not as rare. The NVIDIA Shield Portable, not quite as rare, but it's just better at what it does. Or the Open Pandora, which is not as good at what it does, but it's more rare, and I guess more interesting for the time. So anyways, both of these are going to be kind of maybes, because I have to choose between one of them. Okay, and now I have another very rare handheld. This is probably another one of my most rare handhelds. I think as rare as the Open Pandora, maybe. This is the Vulcan Flip Start, first generation UMPC from 2007. Also very unique and interesting. So first it has this this little outer external display here, which is just for showing mail, I think, and some like appointments and reminders and stuff. So it has an external display for that, which interfaces with, actually it should work with Windows XP, because I did ship with Windows XP. And then this thing here is for the potential SIM card, I think. It can have like a built-in modem, so you, like for business travelers back then, so you can put like a SIM card in there, I think. That goes there. And then USB port, expansion dock right there, volume kind of dial right here, headphone jack, media playback controls right on the side of the lid right here, pretty cool. Yeah, pretty unique laptop. This is by the company Vulcan, which is a short-lived company that was, I think this is the only product that they made. It's backed by Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft. And yeah, this is the only product they made, and they didn't sell very many, so it's extremely rare. I looked on eBay for years before I could get this one. I got it back in 2015, I think. But yeah, you open it up, it's like a mini laptop essentially, like a netbook, except it's well, it's actually an interesting comparison. This is like kind of a netbook, but also now not a netbook at the same time. It doesn't run an Atom processor, it runs a Pentium M, which actually makes it as powerful as a laptop from back then, to be honest. So it's more powerful than a netbook, and it's also smaller than most netbooks. So it's technically like, yeah, it's like a sub-notebook computer. It's not technically a netbook, because it's actually more powerful than netbook and also smaller. It's just better than netbook, actually. It's got a webcam right here, and this is a 5-inch display. Pretty unique and custom keyboard layout here that I've not really seen until the GPD Micro PC came out. So like this keyboard, first of all, is pretty decent for what it was. I mean, back then there was so many like keyboards like the Vaio UX keyboard, it's like totally flat, or the Open Pandora keyboard, which is really mushy. No, this keyboard's actually really nice to type on. It's a really nice keyboard, and there's some unique functions on this keyboard too. Like there's one, it's got media playback controls at the bottom, dedicated Vulcan button here. There is a desktop button, which gets you right to the desktop. There is a Control-Alt-Delete button, which just brings up the task manager. It's got a D-pad here, but it's also page up and page down. You got a touchpad, a mini touchpad right here. It's kind of like a mini touchpad, really cool for the time. And also a track point nub, and you got left and right click here. This was actually, I think, out of all the UMPCs, the best one for playing DOS games, because it's got the right layout for DOS games. So you got the the numpad here, right? Yeah, so you got the directional controls here, which is pretty critical for DOS games, but then you also have space bar, control, and shift, which are used in a lot of DOS games right here. So this is actually a really nice layout for DOS games. So I used this for some DOS gaming back in the day. I think out of all the first gen UMPCs, this was the best for playing DOS games. Yeah, overall very unique computer. It's extremely rare, extremely unique, because I've never seen another computer like this. I think the GPD Micro PC probably comes closest, and that came out like 2019, way later than this. So really unique for the time, and it had the external display as well. Yeah, what can I say? This device, I think I should definitely keep this device. Like compared to the Pandora, it's like, I was thinking about the Pandora because it's also very rare, but then it's not very good at what it's supposed to do. This actually was good, and yeah, it really was. It was better than a lot of the netbooks that came out later, actually. So it actually was good at what it does, and yeah, really, it's just kind of a piece of history that's kind of forgotten now. So I will put this to my collection. I think this, along with the Vaio UX and the Samsung, is 3 pretty unique pieces of UMPC history. All right, so that's 2 there, 3 left, right? Okay. Oh yeah, I have the original carrying case for the Flip Start too. Okay, last box. So. Okay, so yeah, I have 3 more. I think just 3 more to keep, right? I have to actually pick one between the Nvidia Shield and the Pandora as well. Gotta remember that. Oh, okay. This is yet another very rare computer I have. It's the Toshiba Libretto W100. Also extremely rare. I think as rare as the Vulcan Flip Start and the Open Pandora. These are some of my rarest computers. This is a netbook, technically. It runs, I think, on the Pentium dual core. Removable battery at the back. And the front micro SD card slot right here. And this one, actually I'm not sure about that. USB port, headphone jack, power. I'll show you what's the cool thing about this one, okay? You open it up, look at that. Dual touchscreens on a 2010 netbook. So pretty cool, right? 7-inch, dual 7-inch touch displays, and this is running Windows 7. So it actually runs a custom modified version of Windows 7. It's got like a unique Windows 7 shell on it that basically lets it work with touch controls, and without a stylus. It's actually multi-touch as well. So really, really cool device. Yeah, that's why you don't see any kind of physical keyboard here. Yeah, so power button, this is bringing up home layout, and then this one changes the keyboard. You can switch between different kinds of virtual keyboards on here. And then you do have a webcam here as well. Yeah, overall, very unique computer, very rare and special. I think I have to keep this one for the same reasons why I'm keeping the Flip Start. Like, just extremely rare, extremely unique and interesting, and I really do like it. The layout and everything of that one, it's just the design, like the Flip Start design, really, really cool and special for the time, and actually decently performant for the time for what it was. And the same thing for the Toshiba Libretto. I have to say that running Windows 7 is a bit laggy on this computer, especially with the touchscreen, but it's just, for what it was, so unique. And I guess I can kind of compare it to the Onkyo DX that I showed at the beginning, but this one is more portable than the DX's. It's a dual 7-inch display, so yeah. It's, yeah, I have to say, like, even though it's not, like, historically significant as some of the other devices that I kept, but for what it is, I do think it is actually historically significant in one way, which is the Toshiba Libretto was one of the very first portable computers, one of the very first laptops actually. And this is the very last Libretto ever made. I don't think they made any newer Librettos, so this is actually the last in the lineup. It's also extremely rare. They only made a limited number of units of this, and yeah, just very, very unique. Dual touchscreen displays in 2010. And like, yeah, what can you say? That's extremely unique. And I think this was the very last Libretto made. So it's yet another very unique piece I have to keep in my collection. I don't think I can ever get rid of that one. So yeah, just 2 left. Okay, Fujitsu netbook. This is the Fujitsu U820. So this came out before the UH900 that I showed earlier. The UH900 was the successor to this one, but this one's also unique in its own way. That's why I have it as well. So first of all, yes, it is a laptop, like a netbook, right? So it's smaller than your typical netbook. Kind of fits like right in the palm of my hand here. And it runs the, actually this one, does it run the Atom processor? I think it runs Atom processor. I know the UH900 does run on the Atom processor as well. This might be running on the A800 though, I'm not sure. It's either the A800 or the Atom, but A800 is pretty close to an Atom anyways, so it may as well just be an Atom. Anyways, it's a netbook, it's not very powerful. But this one is more unique than most netbooks because first of all, it's smaller than most netbooks. Like, compare the Sony Vaio P, for example. The Sony Vaio P is already pretty small for a netbook. This is already like half the size of a typical netbook. The Fujitsu is like this size. It's like even smaller lengthwise than the Vaio P is. And packs a lot, really. And of course, made in Japan. That's actually Fujitsu laptops still are made in Japan. You look at the side, headphone jack and dedicated microphone input. Remember when those had dedicated inputs, now it's all combo jacks on laptops. SD card, full size. This is a volume dial right here. And yeah, USB 2, of course, back then. DC adapter, compact flash slot, which I do have a card in there right now. You have a wireless on and off switch, power switch right here, removable battery at the bottom. Connector port for the expansion. Yeah, pretty good. And then here's the thing, I'll talk about these controls in a bit because they're related to how this computer works. So let's open it up. So it is a small laptop type device. Keys are squished and cramped. Definitely not as good as the one on the Vulcan Flip Start actually. But I mean, it is for what it is, right, for this size and for back then. So very small keys. I think we've gotten better over time. Now GPDs, micro PCs, and GPD Win Mini I think is roughly around this size. Yeah, GPD Win Mini I think has a better keyboard than this. But yeah, this is what the keyboard was like back then. Now the cool thing about this one is not only about the size, right? Fingerprint sensor right here. That's pretty cool for 2000. When is this? 2009? Yeah, 2009 when it was released. Some zoom in buttons so you can adjust the resolution because of the small size, or zoom in or zoom out. Because if the resolution was full resolution, it's like too you can't see things clearly, right? It's just like this display is too small and it doesn't properly scale. So you have the dedicated resolution buttons to kind of zoom in so you can see things better. Backlight I think is right there. Anyways. So what it looks like, pretty cool, just like one of those very small portable portable networks. It's smaller than a typical netbook, but it also is convertible as well. So you can flip it over and it converts into a tablet. So that's something that the UH900, the successor, did not do. So it also has some controls here because you can convert it. So actually, what's interesting here is, so this is a touch display because it is a tablet and it's convertible as well. Webcam right here. But this is how you use it. So normally you don't use a device like this just on the desk because, well, it's uncomfortable. Right? The keys are kind of too small. So what you do is, just like on the UH900, you have a little track point nub right here, and you also have left and right click right here. So you kind of have to use it like this. And then you have function buttons right here and kind of more navigation buttons right here. So yeah, basically this is how you use it. You just use it like this. And you thumb type, just like on the UH900. So unlike the UH900, the display on here is pretty good. It hasn't, there's no bubbles, it hasn't leaked any liquid or anything like that. So this computer is in relatively good condition, even though this is technically the older model to the UH900. But this one's actually in pretty decent condition. So anyways, yeah, that's about it. I have it just because it's a pretty unique netbook in its own way. Both this one and the UH900 are unique, but this one maybe even more so because it's a convertible. So yeah, you can kind of convert it into a tablet form factor like this, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and yeah, just the size and everything is pretty nice. So good functionality. Should I keep it though? I think if I keep the UH900, I shouldn't keep this one either. And yeah, if I were to choose between the Vaio P and the U820, this one is a better looking device. It's more fashionable looking, I guess. This one is just, it's more of a unique device from a functionality standpoint, I would say. Out of these two, I think I'd probably pick the Fujitsu because it's yeah, it's just a little bit more unique for me. This is just a standard looking netbook. It's a bit smaller, of course, than your typical netbook, and it looks nicer than your typical netbook. But there's nothing that it doesn't do, nothing that it does that a typical netbook can't do. Whereas the Fujitsu, there's a few extra buttons and features here, right? Like the convertible form factor and everything. And it's just it's actually more of a unique, rare computer, right? The Sony Vaio P, not quite as rare. This one's definitely more of a rare computer. How many Fujitsu U820s do you see in the wild, right? So anyways, I'll probably have to choose one of those. Leaning towards the Fujitsu. Okay, so man, all these are pretty interesting in their own way. This is technically a phone, believe it or not. This device that looks like a mini laptop netbook type computer is actually a phone. So this is the HTC Advantage 7500. The HTC Advantage 7500 looks like a mini computer, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks like a little palm top handheld computer or a netbook, but it's actually a phone. Yeah, I didn't believe that this was a phone actually. I think the reason why I got this is because this is a phone that looks like a netbook. So it attaches to this, attaches to this keyboard. So it's got a docking connector on the keyboard. It's not Bluetooth, right? This is like in the era before Bluetooth was really used that a lot. So this was a docking connector, and then the bottom of the HTC Advantage, there's a mini SD. See, there's a mini SD slot here. I didn't know that existed actually, mini SD. And in this docking connector here that allows it to connect to the keyboard like this. This keyboard is not very good. Like the keys are so flat, and I hardly can get any feedback from it. Yeah, but anyways, it is like that. And then the phone itself is like this. So it's got a webcam, and this is a Internet Explorer button, believe it or not. Yes, that's an Internet Explorer button. I think this ran Pocket PC, right? Pocket PC OS. Yeah, and then power button right here. So this was running Pocket Internet Explorer. If you thought Internet Explorer was bad, just wait until you get Pocket Internet Explorer. Man. Power button right here. I don't know what this button does. This is a camera shutter button, I think. It looks like one. Yeah, I mean, it does have a camera. It is a phone. So it has camera shutter button. Stylus. I think this is a stylus. Yeah, little small, tiny stylus right here. It does have a resistive touchscreen. This button here is for navigation. Yeah, it's a little cursor here. This is go up and down. Actually, no, this is a OK and Windows button right here. And you have a VGA out port. This is like kind of a very small VGA out port. And it's a different kind than your typical VGA out. DC input here, which looks like a micro USB, but it's not. Headphone jack, kind of a slider switch right here. Anyways, this is actually a phone. I think that's the unbelievable part of it, is that you would actually take calls like this, and then it obviously is for business people. You take your calls like this, and then it's like, oh, I got to go back to sending some emails and doing some work, and then you're like, oh, there we go. We have a built-in keyboard. I can just use my thumb. I assume you use this with your thumb, and then you just type out some emails this way. But I just think this is such a unique concept, because it's like, okay, like BlackBerry and like all these other companies, like for business users, is like you just have this tiny QWERTY keyboard, right, if you want to send an email. But then HTC was like, you know what, just having a tiny QWERTY keyboard is not enough. How about just having a keyboard like this? That's like a mini laptop, and oh yeah, then you can type your emails a lot easier, right? It's like, sure, but then you had to carry this thing around. It's like, this entire thing's a phone. Who's going to carry this thing around as a phone, right? It's massive, it's bulky. Anyways, very interesting device. I don't think it's historically important because HTC made so much stuff. It's just kind of a unique concept, I think. As a Windows Pocket PC, yeah, pretty interesting concept. But I don't think I would replace, let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's interesting enough for me to keep. It's just more of a curiosity. It's like, yes, a phone existed that looked like this. Like this thing that looks like a mini, you know, netbook. It's actually a phone. So that's just kind of a curiosity to me. But other than that, yeah, and even the power button stuff up here. It's like other than just the curiosity of the form factor and the attachable keyboard, not sure if I really am interested in it. So I will put this in the maybe column as well, similar to the HTC Universal. I'm not sure if it's like both of these devices are just, they're unique for the form factor. Like HTC made a lot of interesting form factors, right? These are interesting form factors, but it's just like, isn't enough for my collection. I'm not sure. Whoops. I'm not sure. I got so many other devices in my collection, right? That there's only 2 devices left. Both of these are pretty interesting though. So the Sharp Netwalker. This is a netbook from 2009 by Sharp, right? Japanese corporation. Also very rare. This uniquely runs Linux and also runs on an ARM processor. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't run on an Intel or it doesn't run an x86 processor. It runs on an ARM processor, which is really cool. This might have been one of the first like laptops or netbooks to run on ARM back then. Nowadays you have more laptops running on ARM, especially because Windows has a special version that does that. But yeah, back then, Linux running on ARM, that's pretty cool. And also how small it is, right? Yeah, Japanese in their small computers. So yeah, this one has a USB port, headphone jack right here. Interestingly enough, it's not branded Sharp anywhere in the front lid. It's just a plain white lid. This one, interestingly, not made in Japan. It's made in China. It has a micro SD card slot on the bottom, which is interesting. Power input here, and another, I think this is a micro? No, it's a mini USB. Okay, mini USB port here on the side, interestingly. All right, let's take a look. All right, so this is what it looks like. Again, because of its size, you have to use this with your thumbs. I can't see this using this on your lap at all. Yeah, there's like about 5-inch display here. Keyboard is smushy, but it is what it is for the size, right? Yeah, this is just what you had to live with back then on keyboards. But hey, it was like this even on the netbooks back then, the bigger netbooks. Some touch controls here for the home, web browser, email, and stuff. And it's got an optical track point nub here, the same kind you would find on Blackberries, I think, back then. Power button, left and right click for the mouse, so you would just use it like this and then type using your thumb because of the size. Yeah, so I think this one, I would probably have to choose between the Fujitsu U820 and the Netwalker. I think these two are probably the ones that are, both of these are kind of netbooks, both very small, Japanese, and except this one runs Windows and it's convertible, so it's a tablet as well. And touchscreen, this one doesn't have a touchscreen. It's just kind of unique in its own way because it runs Linux and on an ARM processor. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think both of these are pretty interesting. This one is probably a bit more rare. This one's rare too, but this one's a bit more rare. It's gonna be tough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to decide between these two. Sharp Netwalker or Fujitsu U820. Both maybes again. Okay, last but not least, I have another fairly rare computer, I would say. Not quite as rare as the Vulcan Flipstar or Toshiba Libretto or Open Pandora, but probably after that. Okay, Onkyo Model 2. Okay, this is a first-gen UMPC from 2007, and it's by a defunct company now, Onkyo, that used to make these, these kind of handheld computers. And I would say that the design of this is really good. I mean, it has the same kind of slide-up design the Sony Vaio UX have. It has the same kind of slide-up UX design. I mean, yeah, this design here, the slide-up display, same as the Vaio UX. And also has touch controls here for adjusting resolution. The keyboard here is actually better than the UX. I mean, not saying a lot, but it is. It's got a raised keyboard. The keys are a bit easier to hit. They're a bit more tactile, right? More feedback. Got a roller button here for, no, not a roller, it's just a track point nub. Yeah, that for cursor. And then left and right click here. Zoom in and zoom out. And uniquely for the time, this thing has an HDMI port. Yeah, full-size HDMI port. that's really ahead of its time, because 2007, not many devices had HDMI. So that's really ahead of its time, forward looking to have an HDMI port there. Docking, expansion port, USB 2, headphone jack, and power button right here on the side. And yeah, that's pretty much it for ports. And yeah, just the design is really nice. I like the design of the Onkyo Model 2. Now the issue with this one is the performance. So this one isn't quite as performant as the Vaio UX. So if you compare the two, and I like to do so because they are kind of similar in design. Okay, so comparing the Onkyo Model 2 with the Vaio UX, I would say Onkyo Model 2 is, yeah, this one, the keyboard is better, but everything else is not as good as the UX. The UX is a faster processor. This has the Intel Core Solo. This one has a VSC7M, which is like slow like molasses, basically. They both have 1 gig of RAM. But yeah, the Sony Vaio UX generally has more functionality. It's just a fingerprint sensor, touch screen. Onkyo doesn't have a touch screen. Cameras on the front and back. Yeah, and of course, like it being a Sony, right? Definitely more memorable and iconic. So yeah, the Sony Vaio UX is overall the better computer out of the two. The Onkyo Model 2, the only thing I like about it, well, the slide of design, first of all, yeah, it's nice, right? I wish more computers had that back then. The keyboard is better than the UX. I wish the UX had a keyboard more like this, where the keys are raised, not flat. The Vaio UX keys are flat, so not as easy to hit. So Onkyo Model 2 does have the better keyboard, and in terms of the just using it, yeah, I think the layout might be. No, the layout's about the same. They both have this kind of same layout where you put your hand here. Yeah, just the Vaio UX has it on the side here. This one kind of has it right beside the numpad. And yes, there is a numpad here as well. So yeah, overall, pretty unique design. I do like the keyboard better. And also the HDMI port, the full-size HDMI port is pretty forward-looking. The Vaio UX does not have that. Other than that, not as good as the UX. The UX is just more performant. This is like, it ran Windows Vista. And if you put Windows Vista on this thing, you will not be able to really run anything. Like, you had to basically put XP. But even when you put XP, it's still slow. So it's like the VIA processor is just way too slow back then. I don't know what they're thinking also putting a USB port on the bottom. That's a little bit weird location. Why not on the top? By the way, this came with an accessory. Just like the Vaio UX, I forgot to talk about that. The UX does come with a dock. It comes with a docking connector right here. So this docking connector, you just dock it in there, and then you can connect it to VGA and Ethernet and stuff. The Onkyo Model 2 has that as well, except for the docking connector for the Onkyo, you have a DVD drive. That's also a DVD writer as well. So that's also a really cool thing. It came with a docking connector, docking station that has a built-in DVD writer, which is cool. I mean, they were both very expensive for the time, you can imagine. These are like $2,000 computers for the time. Adjusted for inflation, that might be like double, you know, I mean, like might be like 4,000 bucks. So they're pretty expensive stuff for the time. Not many people had them. Out of these two, the Onkyo Model 2 is a bit more rare. But again, it's another question of, do I want the more performant device or do I want the more rare device? You know. So yeah, it's another decision I have to make, but I think I lean more towards the Sony Vaio UX. It's just such a classic when it comes to UMPC design. Yeah, it's just the keyboard I wish was not so flat and flush, but otherwise it's a great design. Love it. Well, the Onkyo Model 2, I mean, I like the Onkyo Model 2 design too, and I remember lusting over this computer when I was in university, because this came out really when I was in university looking at this stuff. Never could afford it back then. Yeah, I remember lusting over this thing, and I wish Onkyo came out with more models, but they went defunct. Yeah, the thing is, it's just, if they had put a better processor in this thing, like an Intel, the same processor, Intel Core Solo, right? If they had put a better processor in this thing, it would have been good. It would have been great, actually. But because of the VIA processor, it's almost unusable. Despite the great design, it's almost unusable. So that's the unfortunate thing about the Onkyo Model 2. Kind of like the Open Pandora in a sense. It's like more rare, but not as good at what it does. Okay, so if we're going to compare the Sony Vaio UX and the Onkyo Model 2, we also had to compare the docking stations as well. I think it's only fair. to talk about that. So I did find my docking stations for these devices. This is the Sony Vaio UX docking station. So this is actually, if you guys have bought the GPD Win 3 or Win 4, those of you guys who are gaming handheld enthusiasts, you might have noticed that the docking stations is also pretty similar to that. Pretty much the GPD Win 3 and 4 modeled themselves after the Sony Vaio UX, including the docking station. So I put in the dock here, and of course this is the docking connector, right? So you put it in like this. Oh. Yeah, put it in like this. That's what it would look like with the docking station. So the docking station has a few extra ports, of course. It has a one USB-A right here. You have AV out. You need a special cable for this, but then you can connect it to your TV. I think it's like composite output. And then you have VGA out. Then you have FireWire, actually. That's pretty surprising, but you have FireWire. 2 more USB ports, and full-size Ethernet, of course, and you have a DC input right there. So yeah, that's basically your docking station for the Sony Vaio UX, and I would say it's like a typical docking station of the time. It gives you just enough ports, everything you need, nothing you don't need really. Now the Onkyo Model 2 dock is a bit more interesting, I would say. This one comes with a DVD writer, so that's really cool. So how it works is, so basically I can lift it up like this. This is in the folded mode of the dock, and I can lift it up like this, and I would have to rotate this top part here, and then I can fit this one, of course, with the docking connector as well. And also it has a HDMI connector here, so I have to put the HDMI connector and line it up as well. So of course it says video out and uses the HDMI connector. There we go. And now it looks like this. So this is what it looks like on the dock. Pretty cool, because the base is actually a DVD writer. So yeah, this thing can read DVDs and write to them. Also a USB port right here. And on the side here, that's docking station. That's a docking connector. Sorry, locking connector. Yeah, Kensington. And the back here, you have full size. This is VGA. HDMI out, so you have the HDMI pass-through, right? You already had HDMI here. You have a pass-through connector right here, so HDMI out, VGA out. I think this is audio out, an aux jack. Full-size Ethernet, 2 more USB ports, and this can further link to another docking station. Interesting. So this is another docking connector right here. So you can actually chain to another docking station, which I guess is pretty interesting. So a total of 3 USB ports. And then you got VGA and HDMI. Like overall, I have to say this is a better docking station compared to the Vaio UX. This just came out 1 year later, right? Because I mean, it has more modern technologies. It has a DVD writer on it. It has an HDMI out. Same amount of USB ports. They both have Ethernet. But yeah, the DVD writer and the HDMI out really wins this one for me. Also the cool design, right? Like it's like a floating design right here. Pretty cool, and you can kind of move it like this. Pretty cool, and it folds down. So let's take it out, and then it just collapses and this way, and you can fold it down like this, and it just becomes more portable. Pretty cool design for the docking station. Of course, this all cost a lot of money, like over 2,000 bucks back then, which is a lot, you know, accounting for inflation. This also cost a lot of money, although I think the Onkyo Model 2 might have cost even more than the Vaio UX, but both of them cost a lot of money. Of course, you're talking about very niche gadgets back then. So yeah, of the 2 docking connectors, I like the Onkyo one better. It's just a more, yeah, interesting looking docking connector. But out of these 2, like even the Onkyo's design is really cool, right? It's got a cool modernish design. It definitely looks more modernish, I would say, more streamlined, more sleek compared to the Vaio UX, which has also nice design, but not quite as sleek looking as the Onkyo Model 2, right? The Onkyo Model 2 looks more minimalistic and sleek, but again, the Vaio UX is more performant. There's no contest there. I really wish that Onkyo put a better processor inside of this one. If it did, I might have, you know, this would have been the better UMPC if they put a better processor inside of it, but because it doesn't, it's extremely slow to use. So yeah, looks really nice though. Looks very modern and sleek, but just hard to use. Not very performant. So I'll probably have to go with the Vaio UX just because of that. Okay, so I think I have my 25 now. That's a decade or older. So yeah, that's my little rule here, right? I'm just going to keep 25 devices. All of them are going to be at least from 2014 and before, because that's more than a decade old. So let's go through them. This is what I selected. Okay, and I think it's a good little cross-section of what I have. So I'm going to keep the Toshiba Libretto W100. It is absolutely a very unique, interesting computer. One of the rarest computers I have in my collection, so I'm keeping that. The Samsung Q1, also very unique in terms of being a first-gen UMPC, and also having the split keyboard is a pretty unique design. So just design is unique and is also representative of being a first-gen UMPC as well. Keeping that. The Vulcan Flip Start, again, another first-gen UMPC, also with a very unique design that I've never seen anywhere else. So yeah, and also very rare. Another one of my very rare computers. So keeping that. The Sony Vaio UX, yeah, an iconic piece of UMPC history. Love the design as well, and also probably the most performant out of all the first-gen UMPCs. Keeping that. Okay, so I think that's my UMPCs, my ultra mobile PCs. Let's go on to my portable media players. Whoops. My portable media players, Arco 7. I'm keeping the Arco 7 just because the DVR functionality is really nice. Still looks really premium. 320 gigs hard drive. I can play pretty much any video file on it. Wide codec support. Runs full-blown Linux. Actually, you can actually install like a lot of things on it. Plays Flash movies and Flash games. Yeah, it's and just I have good memories. You know, Arcos. I had this thing for a while actually. Arcos 5 before that as well, back in university. So a bit of sentimental feelings about it too. And that's going to be one of my best portable media players from back then. Okay. Then the iPod Nano, 5th generation. Yeah, iPod Nano 5th generation, just because it's iconic. You gotta have an iPod, right? You gotta have an iPod in the collection. After that, Microsoft Zune HD, one of the most notable and iconic competitors to the iPod. Gotta have that. If I have the iPod and the Zune, I pretty much have this era covered, right, when it comes to portable media players. And unfortunately, if I'm going to choose between the Creative and the Zune, I probably choose the Zune. I think the Zune is... The Creative Zen is probably the better competitor to iPod. It was more successful. But the Zune was more like... Yeah, this is just something that's even more iconic, I would say. Like, even though it didn't sell as well as the Creative Zen, it was actually more iconic in terms of being a competitor. So if I had to choose between Creative Zen and Microsoft Zune, I'm going with the Zune by a hair. Also, like, yeah, this interface is pretty cool too. It's like almost like Windows Phone, but it's not. Okay, I think that's my portable media players. Actually, not my tablets right yet to finish. Okay, I have another tablet here, Sony Tablet P. Right, this is the dual screen tablet that Sony made back in 2011 running Android 3. Pretty unique device. I think I'll keep that too. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 8. Okay. Let's see, the Zipit Z2 Messenger, just a very unique computer. Runs full-blown Linux. You can install full-blown Linux on this thing, even though it's supposed to be just a web messenger, but you can install full-blown Linux on it. And yeah, just a really cute little nifty quirky device, I think. So I'm going to keep Zipit Z2 Messenger. Going along that size, I think it's a similar size, is the Sharp Zorus and the Sony Clie UX. This one runs Palm OS, this one runs Linux, but otherwise they're kind of similar. I know I should probably only choose one, but I can't. They're both really, really good. I can't decide on one. If I'm looking for a PDA that you can hold in the palm of your hand and you can use to, type out things because it's kind of like a small little mini laptop, then both of these are pretty nice. So I can't choose one. I'm just going to keep both of them. Okay, so that. Okay, and I think the rest are, no, I've got another PDA. HP iPac 210. In terms of being a PDA pocket PC, actually, in terms of being a pocket PC, iPac is the most iconic pocket PC. So yeah, I have to have an iPac. So there it is. I think these are all my UMPCs and tablets and portable media players, PMPs. So I think the rest are phones. So yeah, I've got 12 here. All right. So Nokia N95, one of the most iconic Nokia phones, and really represents Nokia at the peak of their dominance. So Nokia N95 has to go in my collection. And N900 as well. I think the N900 also represents Nokia at a time of innovation as well, using a different operating system, MIMO. So also a really nice Nokia phone. So the N900 goes as well. I really think N95 and N900 are like the Hall of Fame level Nokia phones, you know. Then another Hall of Fame Nokia phone, the E90, right? The last communicator phone. I think this one deserves a spot in my collection too. Also really nice. Came out the same year as the N95 actually. Okay. T-Mobile Sidekick. This is another classic of the 2000s. Really represents the era when you had like messenger phones like this, right? And there were a couple messenger devices that we saw already. So the Sidekick was the most iconic and popular of them all. So we have the Sidekick. Another Nokia device, the N-Gage. Really represents another one of Nokia's. I mean, not only it is a failure in a sense, right? But it's also innovation as well, right? Represents really the first of the gaming-focused mobile phones. So, yeah, I know there's the Tapwave Zodiac and stuff too, but the N-Gage is really does represent innovation to me from Nokia, anyways. And even though it's a failure, it's kind of like an iconic failure, kind of like Microsoft Zune. So I'm gonna put it here as well. And Xperia Play, the PlayStation phone. I think out of all the Sony Ericsson phones, I'm gonna keep this one because, yeah, I mean it's cool having like you can also use this even today to play retro games, but yeah, I think it was a pretty unique phone for the time, right? So it's a gaming handheld and also a phone. Represents really the evolution of what the N-Gage wanted to be. So the Xperia Play here. Motorola Razr 2, gotta have a Razr phone, right? Razr really represents, I mean, Motorola really at its peak. So I think when people think about Motorola phones, they go back to the Razr. It's really just so iconic for them. And now they do have the Razr as a foldable version, but this came from their dominant time. So Razr 2, gotta have that. The HP HP Pre 2. So this is, no, Pre 3. Yeah, I think there was a Palm Pre and Palm Pre 2. HP Pre 3, the last of the WebOS phones. I think WebOS is really historically important as a smartphone operating system, so I had to keep the Pre 3 here. I think that's important. And going on with a line of operating systems that are different, I have the ZTE OpenC representing Firefox OS, Samsung Z1 representing Tizen OS, and Amazon Fire Phone representing Fire OS. So those are another 3 unique operating systems. Wanted to have that in my collection. So that's 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Okay. This is tough. I think I'm going to go with the Neptune Pine. I was thinking about, should I go with the Flipout or the Pine? I mean, both these two are pretty interesting. The Flipout, of course, has the QWERTY keyboard, which flips out. I mean, yeah, this is really cool. Whoops, this way, yeah. So this is really cool to have this little flip-out design right here. But the Neptune, it runs a newer version of Android, and it's, I mean, technically it's got superior specs, and it's also the much more rare device. I mean, you can find flip-outs. They weren't super popular, but you can definitely still find them. But Neptune Pines, these are extremely rare. Like, this is from a Kickstarter project from a company that no longer exists. Motorola still technically exists. It's just not the same Motorola, but Neptune just doesn't exist. So this is just a really rare device. Technically more powerful as well, just it doesn't have the little flip out feature that this one does. So I think that even though this one has the QWERTY keyboard, which is really cool, but I'm going to keep the Neptune Pine. I think this is just a more rare, unique device. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, I got 24 devices here. I think there's one more slot, right? And I think, God, this is going to be hard. Which one of these? I mean, I should have a netbook, right? I don't have any netbooks. I don't have any netbook devices. So let's see. Which should I keep? It would be between. Yeah, it would be between the Sharp Netwalker and the Fujitsu Lifebook, because I don't have a netbook here in my collection. I want to keep one of these netbooks. Yeah, both of these. Yeah, this is tough. They both have their pros and cons. Okay, so since I actually technically am keeping the UH900, I have to anyways, and I don't count it as part of this collection because I have to keep it. So the UH900, right, this one with the broken display, that's leaking fluid, I kind of have to keep this one no matter what, but I don't count it as part of this collection because I was forced to keep it. So, nor is it usable. So, because I have that, maybe I don't need to have the Fujitsu as much if I have the UH900. I mean, it's technically a little bit different, but, and this one is in better condition, obviously. But it is more unique to have a Linux computer from 2009 that fits in the palm of your hand that also runs on ARM technology. So I might go with the Sharp Netwalker. And this one is more rare. I mean, yes, the U820 is not going to be that easy to find, but Netwalker is pretty hard to find. And it's only in Japan. This was a Japan-only device. I think Fujitsu might have sold that internationally, just in limited numbers. But Sharp Netwalker is definitely Japan only. I had to import this from Japan at the time. I got this in 2015, I think. I got a lot of these 2015, like 10 years ago. Yeah, I'm going with the Netwalker. That's just a pocket laptop that runs Linux on an ARM processor. It was Japan only. Rare, unique, interesting. I mean, historically, probably not as cool as some of these, but anyways, for me, it's going the rare and interesting category. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, it's 25 devices. Yeah, okay. So anyways, let me know what you guys think of this video. I just went through all my retro devices and decided to keep just 25. And I talked about a bit about each one just off the top of my head from what I remembered about them. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about any of this, but the rest of these, I'm probably just going to sell them, put them on eBay. So if you are a collector looking for some rare UMPCs, yeah, just keep an eye out for them. The Fujitsu U820, fairly rare. Onkyo Model 2, definitely, right? Something to keep an eye out for. The Onkyo DX, obviously. Vaio P, right? This is a very nice, fashionable netbook. Open Pandora, very rare. BlackBerry Porsche design, right? Also, by the way, I think I had to keep the Passport. No, I am going to keep the Passport anyways because it's technically a newer phone. But yeah, I'll probably, this one will probably go to a collector who's more interested in showing it off than me. I don't particularly care about the luxury appeal of this one, so that's why I'm not gonna keep this one in my collection. But yeah, keep an eye out, the BlackBerry Porsche design. I do have the original box for it. What else might be interesting to collectors? The King Jim Portabook, that's a fairly rare device as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of interesting devices that I'm going to be putting up on eBay. So stay tuned, guys. Look out for a lot of my collection now I'm going to be putting up for sale on eBay, and I'm just going to be keeping this 25 that I talked about in this video. So let me know what you guys think of my collection, and if you guys have any questions about it, or if you guys are interested in buying some of the ones that I'm selling here, let me know. And yeah, I know I feel kind of, it's kind of a sad moment for me because I did take a lot of time to collect all these electronics over a period of 10 years, essentially, like over a decade. You know, I amassed all these electronics in front of me and behind me, but you know, sooner or later, I'm just thinking that I have all these devices, but I feel that they should be shown off more. and I'm not really showing them off as much as I should. I just made YouTube videos with them, but I think they should go to a collector who truly enjoys showing off their collection and have them on display and everything. Basically, I want these electronics to go somewhere where they can be displayed better and really find an owner that they're deserving of. Yeah, so anyways, I'm still keeping, 25 of these because, still want to have some kind of connection to these collectible, valuable electronics. But yeah, I do think that the majority of them, yeah, I think they should go to a better owner. I just don't use them or show them off as much as I should, I guess. And I feel bad about that. So, and plus I need the money. So anyways, that's my reasoning. So anyways, let me know if you guys are interested in any of these electronics that I'm getting rid of, and what you guys feel about my collection. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching.